15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
With the 8th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington.
And that's where things got really interesting. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. First night of the draft delivered because we got that stunner. Now, Michael Penix going to the Falcons, Perloff, I think most people and most football fans thought this was the stupidest pick they've seen, considering they just handed Kirk Cousins a 2-year guaranteed $100 million contract, and now you take a 24-year-old Michael Penix? Make this make sense.
Well, okay, there's a couple reasons you can make this work. So, basically, Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles, so you have an automatic backup who's getting $5 million a year. This is you can look at it like that. The opportunity cost was they didn't get another player at 8, but they have a very cost-controlled backup, which they need. Backup's probably more important here than any, maybe the Jets. Because you have Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles, hasn't been able to, he's been healthy into that. So you need a good backup, right? So this is a really, really good price for a backup. So that's good. And then you have a succession plan. The Packers, their argument is there's 2 reasons. They're not going to be bad enough to get into the top 10 for a quarterback. Also, they have this penalty. As I mentioned, I think on Tuesday, they have this huge penalty coming for tampering. They might lose their first-round pick. So this is their shot to get a first-round quarterback.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. First of all, you want a good backup quarterback like Jacoby Brissett. You want a good backup quarterback. You don't want the backup quarterback is now a threat to the starter. That's the last dynamic that you want to set up. You want your backup quarterback, Cooper Rush. Give me that guy as a backup quarterback. I know he's not going to threaten Dak Prescott. Backup quarterbacks who can win me some games.
Those guys are more expensive than Penix.
But that's okay. But you just set up a dynamic where you now have split the locker room and the fan base. This is the last thing you want. You don't want the vice president to overshadow the presidential nominee. Everybody knows this. So, Bill Belichick was on the Pat McAfee broadcast last night, and we might end up referencing that quite a bit because he dropped a lot of gems.
No.
Oh,
you
me?
might not.
Okay, I will.
Can we take a counter for Maggie's Bill Belichick references? It's like there were 32 teams that exist and her former nemesis Bill Belichick was on stage. There were actual draft picks happening besides Bill Belichick analyzing them.
But none of the people are ever tell the truth. And Belichick was up there at least seeming to tell the truth because he was actually critical of some of the draft picks. So I felt like I was getting real analysis. Anyway, put that to the side. Belichick last night said, if you're drafting quarterbacks high, you've got to play them right away. Now, that didn't mean week 1. He's saying once you get to where they're ready, maybe week 4, 5, 6, something like that, you've got to play the first round picks. And so with Penix, how is he going to see the field for 2 years when you've given Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed like 3 weeks ago?
Well, there's a great chance he sees the field this year because Cousins is gimpy. I mean, who knows? I think Cousins is a bit risky, which you're looking, that could have been a mistake signing him. But listen, he's going to play this year. We all know that, right? I mean, Cousins is not going to last 17 games coming off a torn Achilles.
Okay, so let's set that up. So Kirk Cousins, 35 coming off the Achilles. Yeah. Let's say Michael Penix comes in. Again, he's 24. This is not J.J. McCarthy, who's 21 years old, right? Or one of these super young QBs.
Right.
He's been to 2 different programs. He's seasoned. He's had a lot of game film. Let's say he's great. Now what do you do? Because now you're on the awesome thing, which is having a rookie quarterback on their rookie contract where you want to maximize their window, but you can't because you gave all this money to Kirk Cousins.
Well, you have a 5-year window. So first 2 years of Kirk, then you get rid of Kirk. First of all, that's a problem they would love to have. The Penix was awesome. That's not a big problem. The thing about Bill Belichick, he always drafted quarterbacks behind Brady, and he never played any of them. So
second rounders, not eighth overall, Perloff.
Well, okay,
that's very different. You have to admit it's just a top 10 pick on a quarterback.
He took Jimmy G in the second round and had no intention of playing him. So
it's a second round. This is top 10, dude. You know that's different. That's different.
But also, too, this thing about the locker room being divided or the city being divided, who cares? This is football. All that matters is the X's and O's. Like, who cares about any of that?
Oh, there was a reason that the Bears felt like they couldn't keep Justin Fields in the building.
Well, no. I mean, Justin Fields is a way different situation. Kirk Cousins is 35 coming off an Achilles. Justin Fields is 24.
Oh, I get it. I'm just saying there is a dynamic that I think you'd be foolish to ignore. And it'd be foolish to ignore the fact that you could be setting up here something where your $100 million that you spend could be worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's true. But would you be shocked if Michael Penix was a Pro Bowler in Atlanta? If that's the case, then this works.
But when do I see him?
3 years.
Okay, see, that's not, I don't love that because that could work maybe for Green Bay, but that was a really unique circumstance. Kirk Cousins is not going to the Hall of Fame like Aaron Rodgers is. Kirk Cousins is not winning MVPs like Aaron Rodgers was, because here's the thing about the drafting we're obviously talking about the Atlanta Falcons, who took Michael Penix Jr. in a surprise move at the 8th pick overall last night. Perloff likes it. He thinks this is a good, cheap backup quarterback. I think it's silly.
I'm not saying I would have made that pick. I see the logic. I definitely see the logic where nobody else is seeing any logic.
So here's the thing about the whole 5-year window with the first-round quarterbacks. Is it really? Because I'm watching Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, your guy Jalen Hurts, who actually was a second-round pick. I'm seeing all these guys who are young, and when they're good, they're getting paid right away. They're getting paid after year 3. We'll see. Tua might still even cash in after year 4. You don't actually end up making it. You I guess, start the clock a little bit later on the contract, but you're still committing huge amounts of future dollars to them. It makes team building a lot more difficult.
Well, Jordan Love, I think they have some cost control. They're kind of going to 5 years.
Let's wait till that extension.
Maybe they won't. But it doesn't. If they're put in a position where Michael Penix earns a $180 million contract, they're going to be psyched. Because there's no future for Kirk Cousins. Where's the team going with him?
Well, then why did you sign him?
Because you're going to win the division this year. So you get a division win this year, and then you have a succession plan a la Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Here's the thing. You probably weren't going to get Penix later. So if you really wanted Michael Penix as your succession plan, why not take him? And let's talk about for 1 second, who did they really skip? Like, everyone's like, oh, they could have Dallas Turner there. It doesn't seem like there was that much demand for Dallas Turner, the Alabama edge rusher. Who were they going to get that was going to make such a big impact this year?
Anybody? Because here's the thing.
Anybody.
No, this is why.
Give me a player.
This is why. Because anybody who could possibly get on the field this year, where you just took a depth piece and, yes, maybe the future succession plan piece, and you're trying to win the division this year and probably go further than that. So instead of using a top 10 pick to get something that could be useful this year, you're acting like rookies never play. I mean, they do.
They rarely make
I watched Kansas
effect.
City start 3 rookies in their secondary and win a freaking Super Bowl 2 years ago against your Eagles.
Yeah, none of those were first-round picks, by the way. But look at the guys who went after. Roma Dunze, if they'd taken another wide receiver, we would have also killed them because they've been taking nothing but skill positions. They weren't going to take McCarthy. They have an offensive line. They don't need them. So basically, the pick everyone's saying they should have taken a defensive guy. Obviously, nobody else had a defensive guy at number 8 on their board. I don't think these defensive guys were so great that they had to take them at 8. Everyone said they needed an edge rusher, maybe, but get him in the second round. I don't think that this was an elite defensive first-round class. So maybe this draft fell in a way that they had to take the quarterback they
could have traded back.
I don't know. Not if they love Penix, though, who knows? He easily could have gone.
Okay, well, that's besides the point, because anybody who gets on the field could have been could have possibly been a contributor, whereas you're going to have Penix, who he's going to sit. There's no way he's going to beat out Kirk Cousins.
But he is a contributor in the sense that he is a backup quarterback. Like, a lot of teams pay $7 to $10 million for their backup quarterback. He's fitting in that role. Okay. So that's something. That's more important than the third string guard.
Well, it's somebody, let's not say they're the third string guard. It could be someone who actually contributes. But again, we're talking about Michael Penix Jr. This is the surprise of the draft last night. One of them, but the big one is that the Atlanta Falcons take him with 8. This is like the other part of it. If you already had a division that you thought was winnable with Kirk Cousins, right? Like, Michael Penix has not been a surprise to anybody. He's been playing in big games in Washington everyone knew that he's there. So Kirk Cousins gets signed in March. March 26th was free agency, and that's when Kirk Cousins signs $100 million guaranteed with the Falcons. You already watched Michael Penix in the college football playoff and also in the championship game. You have an idea that you might like this guy. Okay, maybe you haven't dug into like every single part of him, but don't you have an idea that you do like him before you offer this big contract to Cousins? If you were going to use a top 10 pick on a quarterback, why weren't you just there scouting the quarterbacks? And like, again, Penix didn't fall from the sky. He's been in our life now for a couple of years at Washington.
Well, I think that they want to win the division this year. They see an opportunity, and they have a better chance with a veteran. So Penix is 23. I think they're like, well, we'll get Penix in there at 25. It's as simple as that. You're right. Maybe it's flawed thinking. It's not classic team building.
Yeah.
But if you told me, all right, just pull back a second.
Okay.
I said you can sign Kirk Cousins for $100 million.
Kirk Millions should be his nickname. He's so rich for doing absolutely nothing. Yes.
2-year contract. It's definitely not going to kill you. It's definitely not among the richer quarterbacks because you can get rid of him in 2 years. So you can do that, and I'm guaranteeing you a division title. Would you do that even though you're taking Michael Penix? I'm giving it to you right now. You're 10-7. You're winning the NFC South.
Perloff, it's the NFC South. Let's not make it out to be murderer's row here.
Yeah, but Atlanta's not winning it now.
Okay, but with Kirk Cousins, they win it.
Great. So
with any other confident quarterback. Ritter was so bad, and Ritter and Heineke, that was just, and Mariota.
Right, that's why they're doing. That's why they brought in Cousins to win now, and they just love Penix. And the draft is a future play. I think their thinking is not as awful as people say. If they love this guy, they're not getting another shot at a Michael Penix. When are they going to see another Michael Penix?
I have no idea. I mean, quarterbacks, they emerge, and maybe their first round pick is going to get taken away because of the tampering thing. So Kirk has cost you, now how much has Kirk Cousins cost you? $100 million and potentially a future pick?
They're going to be like the Steelers that have to take Kenny Pickett at 21. This is, their logic that they're not going to get another shot at quarterback is actually true because next year's draft is obviously not going to be great at quarterbacks, and they're not going to be a top 10 team unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt. And if Kirk Cousins gets hurt,
then
you got Penix worked out. It's not as awful a pick as I think. And honestly, they've been terrible at picking anyway. They probably would have taken like a wide receiver.
Oh, God. Another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Can't have too many.
I don't even know, by the way.
No clue who's throwing to
You know
him.
what's kind of funny about the Atlanta? Did you ever hear left tackle or right tackle for them? They must be really set with their line because that never came up once. I just think that everyone's like Dallas Turner or Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas. I don't think those guys are that great because they all fell well below where Penix went at 8.
Well, was it falling or was an unprecedented offensive-minded draft where the first 14 picks of the first round are all on the offensive side of the ball? And I think it's two things. One, obviously, this has become way more of an offensive league. But two, scoring was down last year. So I think it was a reaction to that where defenses have started maybe to figure out a little bit of the Sean McVay offense or the Kyle Shanahan offense. And so now you feel like you need more, especially offensive linemen, to try to get those dynamic running games going. And this is what you saw. And, of course, wide receivers.
Right, but everyone said they should have taken Dallas Turner, the Alabama edge. If he's so great, then how come nobody was coming up to get him after they passed? I mean, he fell to 17. I think there's a reason. I'm not sure Atlanta would have nailed that pick with anyone else. It is a huge surprise. It's strange thinking, but this is the way the draft is. It's the way coaching hires are. Sometimes they work out despite being bizarre logic. And honestly, I just think Penix is awesome. So at least they got an awesome quarterback.
It's funny because we're talking about Michael Penix Jr. gets drafted number 8 by the Falcons. The other part of this is a report that came out last night. Diana Orsini, I think Jane Slater, a few different people had it, which is that Kirk Cousins himself was really blindsided by this. The words were, I believe, shocked and disappointed because the Falcons said, hey, we might be in the market for a quarterback, but it wouldn't be until like a second round thing. Does Kirk Cousins have a right to be upset today?
No, absolutely not. This is a tough business. He knows it because he's taken advantage of this business time and time again. I mean, it's ironic because he was the backup. He was drafted in the 4th round the year that Robert Griffin Jr. III went second.
I love that.
Basically, he was Michael Penix, the RG3. He was the drafted backup, and so he had that situation. Honestly, and maybe he should have known. Like the agent should have picked it up. Now I'm seeing more and more people had it. that Atlanta. Schefter had it on Monday. We talked about it. Our show talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
Multiple times. Brian Baldinger apparently tweeted out that they were drafting Penix this week. Ian Rappaport said yesterday on NFL Network twice that Arthur Blank wants to draft Michael Penix. Like, at some point, does someone text Kirk Cousins' agent and say, hey, people are talking about Michael Penix? Apparently not. Like, honestly, I think his agent put his head in the sand on purpose. So I was a little surprised that Kirk's agent came out and said that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, just be cool about it.
Yeah, see, I didn't like the pick at all, and you and I will disagree about whether this was flawed logic for the Falcons or whether this was actually smart to get the quarterback of the future for when Cousins eventually leaves, but I can't get behind Cousins on this one. Like, you're shocked and disappointed. Get out of here. I mean, you're 35, you're coming off an Achilles, and you just made $100 million guaranteed. You have fleeced every team. I mean, you have one playoff win. How you've made $400 million. How dare you be shocked and disappointed? Like, that's what I would say. How dare you have the arrogance to be shocked and disappointed that coming off an Achilles, someone would dare to get another quarterback. Again, I don't love the move. I think it's flawed logic. But for Kirk to be in his feelings about it, dude, get a grip. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, when they drafted Jordan Love in the first round, and that was in the 20s, remember, right? They traded back up in the 2020 draft. He said he poured himself like three fingers of bourbon or something and like had to take a real deep, hard look. Rodgers had already been in the organization for 16 years, won them a Super Bowl, had been the face of the franchise in a small market. There's a lot of pressure that goes along with that. Kirk's been here for 6 weeks. Get out of here.
Aaron Rodgers went on a 3-year tirade because of that pick.
He won 2 MVPs. Because
Kirk Cousins' agent sent out a note that he's shocked. Aaron Rodgers literally scorched earth for 3 calendar years because of that pick. He was so mad. So don't tell me Aaron Rodgers wasn't mad.
No, I'm saying he was, but he deserved to be. That's what I'm saying. I understood why he poured himself 3 fingers of bourbon and was like, geez, I mean, what more do I have to do around here? You can't get me a wide receiver. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. You know, I'm here. I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks to maybe ever play the game. I get why Rodgers was ticked off. Kirk Cousins, not in Rodgers' class, cannot be upset about this.
You know, the Jets, who have Aaron Rodgers coming back, who was also on the McAfee show last night.
He was.
They might have taken a quarterback at 10 because I don't think that guy is going to be on the field for 18 weeks either.
I hate to say I told you so about that one. Knew the Jets were going offensive line.
Yeah.
Thought it was a good idea. We talked about that actually in our pre-draft Twitter spaces, which I thought went really well once we figured out the technological side of this thing.
Yeah, we had 2 Twitter spaces last night, apparently.
Yeah, right. Multiple feeds.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
I liked it, though. Zach Gelb joined us from the afternoon show.
A lot of fun.
There was a rumor that had come out while we were doing that draft show. We did like an hour leading up to the first pick. And I want to circle back to that rumor because it never ended up happening last night and it would have been a blockbuster. I still think it's on the table for today. But meanwhile, you get to weigh in today. Your team, their pick. Open phones. 855-212-4227. We started with the Falcons because that's a shocker. You're welcome to weigh in on that. Is this going to work? Was this a smart pick to take Penix at 8? But your team, how you're feeling today, you are welcome to call us. You can also watch us. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. You can watch the show. I thought you were going to wear the Joe Burrow suit today.
Oh, my God. I totally forgot. I completely forgot. But I said
I'm going to wear my draft outfit.
I said it on the Twitter show. Nobody reacted. They're like, "Hey," you're like, "Yeah."
We said great. We loved it.
Yeah,
I just forgot.
laughed.
All right, there was too much going on last night.
Okay.
Yeah. Darn it, because I never have an occasion to wear my Joe Burrow suit, which is an old Halloween costume.
Yeah.
This would have been perfect. I've been dying to wear it. The coat fits me beautifully.
Really?
Oh, it's like the one coat I have that fits me, but you can't wear a flowery print coat that often.
It looks like wallpaper that would be in someone's grandmother's bathroom.
Oh, well.
It looks great on you, though.
I got to tell you, Maggie, I don't know if anyone here can give,
fashion advice.
Fashion advice to Joe Burrow. He seems to have figured it out a little more than we have.
Yeah, fair. 855-212-4227. All right, we got it going with the Falcons. We will revisit this crazy rumor that happened yesterday, broke right before the draft, and whether this could come true today. You got 6 quarterbacks going in the top 12 picks. This is the first time we've had 6 quarterbacks since 1983, a draft that produced 3 Hall of Famers. How are you feeling about these quarterbacks? We've got more to unpack. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
back, Maggie and Perloff. I'll tell you, one mystery for me was solved last night. Not how can the Atlanta Falcons draft Michael Penix at number 8, but why wasn't everyone talking about? I just don't see the flaws with Michael Penix. I don't understand why he wasn't even in that top 3 mix, because the dude's got 10 and 3/8 size hands.
Mel Kiper brought that up right away. The hand size. I know that's important to you.
Important. It's probably the number one set. Also, he has 2 torn ACLs and he ran a 4.5 240. Can you imagine if he had his regular ACLs? What he would run?
Yeah, let's overlook the fact that they were torn at one point. Here's a funny thing though about the hand size crew. The hand size gang. Does it matter as much in a dome? If you're not playing in cold, it's about fumbles, right?
No, it's just easier to throw. It's easier to do anything when you have giant hands.
I get that.
Sports like in basketball, you look at any NBA player whose hands are gigantic. No, you get a better feel for the ball.
Baseball pitchers, obviously.
Listen, you ever seen Lucas, your 4-year-old, hold a ball and try and throw it? He just can't grip it.
No.
So the bigger your hand, the better you are by definition.
I guess so. I thought it's all about fumbling and and ball security, like Kenny Pickett or something. And if you're in a dome, like, what does it matter?
Well, look at the way Penix throws it way better than, maybe Maye throws it better, but he throws it better than Jay Daniels.
Yep.
He's right there with, his arm is insane. So it's got to be because of the hands.
So he's 24 years old, and now he's going to be sitting behind Kirk Cousins for maybe 2 years. So he just was not the kind of guy who you thought needed to have that much runway before he could step into a starting role.
He's got 2 weeks until he turns 24. May 8th, he turns 24. Yeah, it's not like he's Chris Wenke. He's not 30. He's got 14 more years ahead of him in the NFL.
I'm just saying,
years.
if the Falcons really wanted like a guy who was going to be the heir apparent and to learn from Kirk Cousins, they had the Kirk Cousins clone who was right on the board with J.J. McCarthy. He didn't end up going to the to the Minnesota Vikings, traded up with the New York Jets to get from 11 to 10. It was obvious they were trying to hold off the Denver Broncos, maybe the Raiders. But
if you have Kirk Cousins, you're not drafting J.J. McCarthy.
But I'm just saying,
you might not even know which guy is which in the locker room.
That's right.
Kirk,
the Spider-Man meme.
Oh, is that J.J.? Is that Kirk? I don't even know.
Let's get to you, 855-212-4227. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you could have had a younger guy if you really wanted to sit him for 2 years behind Cousins. Josh is in Pennsylvania, really scratching his head over this Penix thing, just like me. Perloff likes the logic. Josh, how are you?
Morning, guys. So one of the most valuable things in the NFL is the quarterback on a rookie scale. So now you're going to only have 2 years to potentially evaluate Michael Penix before you have to sign him to a deal after?
Josh, 1 year. I mean, you pick up the 5th-year option on first-round picks after the 3rd year. So if Kirk plays for 2 years, then Penix gets a year, and then you've got to figure out if you're picking up a 5th-year option that's $20 million because he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah, but the Packers picked Jordan Love, and they're fine. They're in great shape. I think most franchises would trade places with them in 2 seconds.
Yeah, Josh, thank you for the call. But what could they have had with that pick? Because if it had been a receiver that really could have helped Rodgers when Devontae Adams leaves, then are you talking about maybe ripping off another Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers?
First of all, Aaron Rodgers can't stand young receivers. So, no, I don't even think Rodgers would have thrown to whoever they picked at 20.
Well, they end up giving him young receivers anyways who were 5th-round picks instead of first-round picks.
They got Christian Watson in the 2nd round, who's just as talented as any first-rounder. We just can't stay healthy. I think you and I do disagree on one thing. I don't think this idea that rookies are making like that much of an impact. Like, first of all, 32 picks yesterday, 16 are automatically going to be busts. A lot of them are going to need time to develop. We might have 5 or 6 real impact guys.
Let's go to Adam. He's in Toronto. Good morning, Adam. What's up?
Good morning, guys. Maggie, what the hell is wrong with our football team, Maggie? Why can't the Buffalo Bills do anything right?
I don't know.
What does Josh Allen have to do? Does he have to sacrifice his firstborn to get a first-round wide receiver? What is Brandon Beane doing? Why can't this guy get any weapons? He's a top 3 quarterback. At worst, he's 3, and you can't ever get him a first-round wide receiver. And not only that, you take the 28th pick and you do a deal with Satan himself, the Kansas City Chiefs, and give it to them. What are we doing?
Adam, I'm with you. I stayed up when we get up extremely early, and if you're talking to us, you're up early too, wherever you are. We wake up extremely early, and I kept hanging on. I'm like, the Bills are going to do something here. They're going to do something. I saw they traded with the Kansas City Chiefs. I wanted to run out to the front yard and scream. I'm going to be one of those people going over a barrel of Niagara Falls if they don't get a weapon for Josh Allen today. And now they sit here because they traded back twice, and they're going to have the first pick of the second round, and they're probably going to take the corner, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Higgins or Brandon Ayiuk.
Or Brandon Ayiuk.
Better get one of those two.
You know, Adam,
I'm so sick right now.
Man,
guys,
can I just give you my cell phone and we can just talk later? Because I'll talk about this till the end of time.
I need to vent with another Bills fan. This is terrible. This is
We need like a support group. And Adam, thank you, because it's a unique type of torture to watch your team trade with the team that has ousted you from the postseason multiple years in a row. And if somehow Xavier Worthy from Texas, who's the fastest guy in the draft, ends up becoming the next Tyreek Hill, and if he scores a touchdown against the Bills and throws up the deuces behind him as he's running into the end zone like Tyreek Hill did many years ago, I'm going to lose it. I've already lost it. Sorry. I apologize for yelling.
I thought you worship Bill Belichick. I mean, obviously, he's Mr. Trade Down. Every team in the league wants to trade down.
Okay.
First of all, and everyone had him mocked to a bunch of guys who none of them got picked. They're all still there for the
I got to
Bills.
catch my breath because here's the difference. The board was breaking so right for them, just like it did for your Eagles. The board broke so right for your Eagles because Penix and Nix went high, and because all these offensive linemen went high, your corner was there. You didn't have to trade up. For the Eagles, got theirs. It was breaking right for the Bills to have multiple wide receivers were right there. And honestly, I'd rather them take the pick and the guy not be as high on the board than give the pick to the Chiefs. There are certain no-goes. Bill Belichick would not trade with the Jets. You can't. There's certain X-no's. And to get a fifth rounder or something like that, unless Ayiuk or T. Higgins are coming, this is an abject disaster to give Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes a weapon. How dare you? How dare you? It is an affront. Now, listen, we'll see what the rest of the day holds. I'm sorry, guys. I lost my cool, but this is how I feel. How dare you, Bills?
I don't know. Xavier
we love
Worthy.
you. We work for you. We pay our hard-earned money. We just want to see Josh Allen win, and this is how we're repaid. It's not cool.
Xavier Worthy is as meh as a receiver to go.
Put him with Patrick Mahomes, and let's see how he
in
looks.
KC.
Just like
You love Andy Reid. You said Andy Reid can do
MVS
anything.
was like running for all those large. That's
Who the hell thought MVS was good?
He was. Oh, do you think he was good? How many
No.
catches did he have?
Nobody thinks he was good.
Well, they paid him to be their vertical guy. Now they're bringing in Worthy.
He wasn't good in Green Bay.
He's a Super Bowl champion, guys. This is what happens when you get around Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed. It doesn't matter.
I don't love
Kadarius
that pick.
Toney is a Super Bowl champion because of the Chiefs.
And he's been a disaster in Kansas City.
He won a title and scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Right. They could have gotten a guy in the 6th round who's going to be a Super Bowl champion. I just like that pick is like, that's what's sweating you that they got Xavier Worthy at 26 when everybody has the 5 guys that were mocked to the Bills are still there and they're picking in the 2nd round. Probably they could trade down again.
Do you know what happened the last time the Bills traded with the Chiefs?
Boy, is it Sammy Watkins? Is that?
No, it was Patrick Mahomes. The Bills traded with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs got Patrick Mahomes, and the Bills got Tre'Davious White. And because Tre'Davious White ended up being an all-pro corner, and because they got Josh Allen the next year, that little bit of history is sort of kind of brushed a little bit under the rug. It's back up now.
By the way, Chiefs got a rookie receiver last year who may not play much this year, Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, way better player in college than Rashee Rice was.
No way.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Look at the numbers.
I'm looking at the numbers. 600 yards 2020, 600 yards in 2021. He had 1,300 in 2022, 1 year production.
Right. What did
Worthy's
Xavier
been
Worthy do last year?
3 years of production. He's been a better player than Rashee Rice was.
It doesn't matter. See,
Did Rashee Rice 1,300 yards? It's massive for college.
This is what you're missing, though. Mahomes and Reed make everyone good.
Right, so why do you have to take them at 28? You already have the most expensive quarterback. You can make anybody good. So who cares if they get Xavier Worthy?
Don't trade with the
Honestly,
Chiefs.
you might have Kool-Aid McKinstry just sitting there.
I don't know about him. There's questions about whether he keeps himself in shape. I don't want to deal with that.
Come on.
You become more.
You get a starting cornerback in the 2nd round. You need a cornerback, and also, or you could take the linebacker too. Like you guys, everybody the Bills want is still there.
Cannot trade with the Chiefs.
Can't
do
Chiefs?
it. Yes.
No, come on.
Absolutely.
Come on, you guys got to be more analytical about this because this idea that you don't trade with a rival, that's long gone. The young analytic guys don't even care.
Not to me, it's not. To me, it's very much alive.
That you're like one of the old school guys sitting around Billy Bean in the movie Moneyball. That you can't make any decision based on quote unquote a rivalry. That's not the way to build a team at all.
This might be one of the best rivalries we have in the NFL right now is Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, and who got a weapon and who didn't in the first round.
Yeah, who wasted a first round pick on Xavier Worthy and who didn't. I honestly, and so what? The Bills were going to take a quarterback at 28 probably anyway. They're just going to take one at 33. Does this make any difference in the long term?
I mean, I can't. As a fan,
Worthy scoring a touchdown on the Bills this year.
Thank you.
Mark it.
As a fan, I can't handle this. Bogusch is here. He's got headlines. Enough about me. How are you doing? You want to talk about your team?
Well, actually, I was the one hoping to come in here and ruffle your feathers about this.
Too late.
Because it wasn't just pick 28. They could have also went wide receiver at 32 after that initial trade, but
The Buffalo Bills have traded the 32nd pick to the Carolina Panthers. With the 32nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina.
another wide receiver that's not going to Buffalo. But at least you have 2 second-round picks and 4 fifth-round picks after all these moves.
I saw a great tweet from my friend Brad Ziegler, former MLB pitcher. The Bills, it's the first time, probably only time, the Bills will know what it's like to pick at number 32.
See? Again, and you're wondering why I get upset about them handing skill position players to the Chiefs.
It's nice to pick at 32, but I guess they didn't even want to do that.
Yeah.
Skill position players. What are we? This is not a fantasy football team. First of all, there are 8 receivers sitting there for you, and second-round receivers are always better than first-round receivers. This is not going to hurt your team.
31
What does
other,
that mean?
There's 31 other teams they could have traded with, in theory.
I looked at a stat the other day of the top, last year, this year was a little different, of the top 15 receivers, 12 were picked after the first round, or at least after 20. You can always find receivers, and you know that.
You can always find receivers. I'm not debating that. I'm just, the sentence of second-round receivers are always better than first quickly brings to mind like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and guys like that. They seem to be better
pretty
than
good.
Yeah, those guys are first-round picks.
AJ Brown pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, who are the best 2 receivers? Like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill.
We still have more so far.
The thing about that,
DK
though, is
Metcalf,
that goes to evaluation. That's evaluation. That's not just like there's a magic potion and their second-round receivers are better. Maybe the Bills are smart, and maybe they do have a second-round receiver who's going to be better than these guys in the first round. Yeah. They could have also just taken them in the first round and had the 5th-year option so that they're not having to give these guys a boatload of money after 3 years. So there's a financial aspect about this, too. The Bills are already in financial hell that made this ridiculous last time.
Right, so the Panthers are smarter than the Bills. That's where we're at now?
Well, this is maybe there's still a trade for one of the big receivers, but again, that comes with it a very big financial toll if you're going to pay a Brandon Ayiuk or something like that. Let's get off the Bills for a second.
Okay.
Back to Bogusch.
But if that decision was like a 2 on the confusion scale, the 10 is Michael Penix at number 8 to the Falcons. That's the headline from a night that began with 14 consecutive offensive picks, from Caleb Williams to the Bears to Oregon State tackle Talise Fuaga to the Saints. There was no drama with our QB bet, with 6 going in the first 12 picks. Jaden Daniels to Washington, Drake Mays in New England, Penix, J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, and Bo Nix in Denver. So get ready for whatever the heck Pete drills are.
Get those knees up.
Oh, my God. Pete's been waiting for this moment your whole life, haven't you?
That's right.
Let me set the scene. So EJ lost the bet to Perloff about how many quarterbacks were going to go in the first round, and it wasn't even close. I mean, it wasn't even, we'd have to think about it. We'd have to sweat it out.
Although I thought when J.J. McCarthy was passed over by the Giants, I thought we actually were going to get into the sweat, and then nope, never mind.
When Penix got taken, Perloff just sent to the group text, Penix! Yes!
Yeah.
So, and EJ head in the hands. So EJ... The bet started that someone was going to have to run gassers.
Which is what I still accepted. And
Right.
I've been accepted. I don't know. Perloff's the only one that accepted this Pete Drills crap. I'm not accepting Pete Drills. I said I'd run gassers. I'll do gassers.
You're not curious what Pete drills?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was.
I'm
Curiosity.
not curious about it. I don't care about it at all.
Wait, so it was gassers first with Pete Bellotti on the whistle. And then it turned into Pete's middle school football team drills.
Because Perloff offered basically a way to cash out for EJ, and EJ declined that, and we just devolved into Pete's unnamed, nefarious, possibly scary Pete drills.
I accepted the cash out. It was you
We wouldn't
and
allow
Pete
it.
Oh,
who
that's
were like,
true.
I'm not allowing
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I'll just run the gassers. I think Perloff's going to win. And then it became, what if Perloff said, maybe I'll just do Pete drills. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm running the gassers. Well, always do the devil you know to the devil you don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Pete, you definitely have to tell us what the drills are at some point. Like, I need to know that desperately.
Pete saying get those knees up is like nightmare fuel.
I'll give you one thing that's in those drills.
Yes.
It's leg lifts.
Oof.
Yeah, no.
Leg lifts, 10 leg lifts.
That's when you lay on the ground, right? And,
right.
Yeah, and you're on your back, and the legs go down together and then up. It's all core.
5 seconds.
Abs, right? Okay.
5 seconds. One, you go down. You lower your legs every second, and then you get to the fourth second. You get a 5, and you hold them there until I say 5.
That is the hardest exercise on earth.
Yeah, just put me on the goal line. I'll just keep running.
Honestly, like climbing Mount Everest has to be easier than that.
What?
This is a Pilates class or football drills? What are we doing here?
It got us ready.
The last time I did leg lifts, you want to hear a funny story? The last time I did leg lifts, I was at a church, a youth church gathering, where we were supposed to just kind of like do like Bible study, and eventually developed into like
a push-up contest.
Pete's drills apparently, and one of the major things were you ran gassers and did leg lifts.
It's like it was Corinthians 5:18.
I love. A shout out to the Baptist church I used to go to. It was weird. I don't know why we were doing.
It got competitive.
I feel like Pete might have been in this church somehow because we were doing that exact thing.
Wouldn't a Bible study like the opposite would be competitive? It's like peaceful and everyone gets a say and
yeah, no, it's none of that. It was everybody get on the base. Everybody get on the baseline. You're gonna run 10 gassers and then do leg lifts right after. I'm like, what? I didn't sign up for this.
Also, we have not indicated how many gassers you're gonna run.
Fair.
Did anybody watch It's Always Sunny?
Yes.
Charlie work? That's what I keep thinking when I hear Pete drills. Like, it's the same thing. It's
You mean like killing rats?
Yeah, like Charlie work was like cleaning the urinal. It's like things that nobody else wanted to do. Like Pete drills seems like an all-encompassing.
And the leg lifts are one of many things that happen during Pete drills.
Can any of us actually do leg lifts?
I did some yesterday, and now the counting thing seems weird, but I can do leg lifts.
The worst is when you get down, like you're supposed to be like an inch off the floor with your heels, and then they're like flutter kick.
Flutter kick's the worst.
And my coach would go 4, 4.5. 4 3/4.
This guy sounds like a jerk.
It was great. Got us
Bill
through great
Parcells,
shape.
your middle school coach.
It was the best shape I've ever been in.
In middle school.
Yep.
Bogusch, back
Leave
to
that
you.
one alone. Thanks, guys. Pre-draft, we got reports that the Eagles are signing A.J. Brown to a 3-year extension with $84 million guaranteed. Joel Embiid did it all last night in Game 3 with the Knicks. Big scoring outing, possibly dirty play, and a medical revelation. Let's start with those points.
20 seconds to go, 5 on the clock. Maxey against Hart. Over to Embiid for 3. It's up and good. Are you kidding me? Another 3. Tom Thibodeau was looking on like, what is going on? The Sixers are pouring in 3s.
Tom McGinnis on Sixers radio. Embiid scored 18 of his 50 in that third quarter as the Sixers pulled away. They beat the Knicks 125-114. Now trail in the series 2-1.
You know, you're really good when you purposely injure your primary defensive
We're getting
assignment.
there.
You're pretty good when you do that.
Embiid given a flagrant 1 in the first quarter when, while on the court, he grabbed Mitchell Robinson's right leg as Robinson jumped up to lay the ball in. The Knicks called it dirty. It was. Embiid said he was just protecting himself from Robinson falling on him, even though he pulled Robinson down onto him, basically. But then, I guess on a more serious note, post-game, Embiid revealed he's been dealing with Bell's palsy.
It's been tough, but I'm not a quitter, so got to keep fighting through anything. But yeah, it's unfortunate. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But that's not an excuse. Got to keep pushing.
The condition is temporary, but could last for months. It's affecting the left side of his face, including his eye. He needs drops to keep it from getting too dry. All of this on top of the recovery from that knee issue. The Nuggets took Game 3 with the Lakers in L.A., 112-105. That's a 3-0 series lead. The Magic on the board with the Cavs, a 121-83 rout in Game 3 in Orlando. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you. We'll get more into Embiid's medical diagnosis a little bit later and what we saw in that game, along with the Lakers going down 0-3 to Denver, as Bogusch just said. Coming up next, top quarterbacks going off the board quick. Who's going to work out and who is walking into a hornet's nest? We'll get to that next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
With the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Drake Maye, quarterback, North Carolina.
There you go. Drake Maye, third quarterback off the board. They went 1, 2, 3 last night, and then 6 quarterbacks in the top 12. It was Michael Penix with the surprise pick at 8. You had the Vikings trade up 1 spot to get J.J. McCarthy. That was at 10. And then you had Bo Nix, who went to the Denver Broncos at 12. Here is Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the New England Patriots, on Drake Maye and what he loves about him.
One thing about Drake, and we kind of talked about it this past year, they also had some holes on offense. And the thing that most impressed me about him, he would get smacked and just get right back up, right? And that's the same trait. You had a guy like Tom Brady, not saying that he's Tom, but just that mentality. Same thing with Joe Burrow. Like, those guys just keep getting back up and continue to play at a high level, and that was like that aha moment for me.
Yeah, no pressure, kid. Just got compared there. The toughness of Tom Brady and also of Joe Burrow. Listen, he might have to get up from a couple big hits because he's not really walking into the best situation. This is an obvious full rebuild. But let's hear from Drake Maye, cut 17, Pete, because he said he thinks it's wrong to say the Pats have one of the worst situations right now in the league.
I think they're wrong. I think, they had that defense last year, had a lot of teams at low points, and, looking forward to helping anyway in the offensively, and just looking forward to being there with Coach Mayo in his first year. Congrats to him. And, I think anybody who's saying that, I think, hopefully, we'll find out. We'll find out this season. Just going to work hard with the guys and, prove them wrong.
So that was a little of Drake Maye. Now, we were talking about Bill Belichick, who was on the Pat McAfee show broadcast last night, and it was refreshing. Whatever you think about Belichick and his draft record, it was refreshing that he was giving an honest evaluation. And it was all backed up by film. Everything was backed up, and Bill Belichick was very skeptical about Drake Maye. So first, let's hear 23, Pete. He gives the evaluation of Maye and says he's inexperienced.
A very talented kid, good size, runs well, has a good arm. He hasn't played very much. He really doesn't have a lot of experience.
Which is kind of crazy because he was a 2-year starter. Let's hear cut 25. This is when they're showing Maye throwing an interception on the screen, and Belichick continues his analysis.
Here's a late throw over here. Wiggins picks it off.
That's going to happen. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
The route was supposed to come back to the quarterback, I heard.
Again, kind of open receivers down here. We got to hit them. And again, kind of, I'd say too quick to scramble and get out of the pocket. Of all the quarterbacks, he was the lowest rated in the pocket thrower.
Also, Belichick weighing in on the comparisons to Josh Allen.
Well, I think that's certainly a top need for him. It's quarterback, tackle, and wide receiver. And so, this is one of the top needs. Drake compares himself a lot to Josh Allen. He has been doing that for quite a while. We'll see about that. I think there are some similarities in terms of, size and athleticism. But Josh Allen's a pretty special player now.
Okay, so you got a little Bill Belichick analysis there, and you got Drake Maye going to the New England Patriots. How quickly do you think this is going to work?
Not quickly. One thing I'll say about Belichick, first of all, his draft, he's never drafted a good quarterback. Who's a good quarterback he drafted? Tom Brady. He passed on him for 6.5 rounds. He wasn't even his first 6th-round pick, so I am skeptical.
Well, Jimmy G, I think, was a fine quarterback. The injuries really killed Jimmy, but he wasn't bad.
Jimmy G was good. Jacoby Brissett is actually pretty good,
it's going to be a starter.
But anyway, regardless, the thing is, a lot of people wanted Drake Maye, and is everybody wrong with the Giants and the Vikings both dead wrong about Drake Maye and the Patriots? Are all 3 teams wrong about him and he's going to be a bust? That's the only thing that makes me think, maybe a lot of people saw something in Drake Maye, and I can forgive New England for taking a developmental quarterback.
I don't have a problem with the pick, and I think it's definitely they needed the quarterback. And you heard Belichick there. I think if Belichick is sitting in that room, they're not taking him. And they're probably not. They might not be taking a quarterback. Maybe he's still trying to make it work with Mac Jones. I have no idea if they would have tried to keep, forcing that situation. But I don't know if Belichick at 3 actually would have taken Drake Maye or a quarterback. I think he would have traded out.
Well, he did take Mac Jones. Why do you think?
Well, that was at 15, though, wasn't it?
Right. But I'm not positive that he wouldn't have taken a quarterback because, he took him at 15. He'd never taken a first-round quarterback before that. So the trend is he's moving up in the draft. If you look at history.
Crawling up.
Yeah. I didn't get to see as much of Belichick. Did he dislike all the quarterbacks? Is there a guy that he seemed to crush on?
I'll tell you next. Who Belichick loved last night. We'll get to that in a moment. Plus, we want to hear from you. How did your team do last night? Phone lines are open. 855-212-4227. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Shocking, surprising, and we weren't the only ones who watched the Atlanta Falcons take Michael Penix Jr. at 8 and thought, what is going on? Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, even Kirk Cousins himself was very surprised that the Falcons used the top 10 pick on his backup/successor. This did not make a lot of sense. It has been universally the most criticized move of the first round.
Okay, but there's some history on the Falcons side.
Okay.
What picks does it remind you of? Jordan
Packers.
Love,
Yeah.
and it's already being compared to Patrick Mahomes. I think you have to talk about that pick because the Chiefs traded up to take Patrick Mahomes at 10 when they had Alex Smith at a Pro Bowl level, and they were 11-5. So the report that made me excited about this, James Palmer, formerly of NFL Network, said there were 3 teams that tried to trade in the top 10 to get Penix. So the Saints, the Seahawks, and the Raiders. So the Falcons wanted this guy, probably thought maybe we could get someone like him in the second round, and then it became very clear via the wire that he was going in the top 10.
Okay, well, the evaluation on Penix might be good from all these teams, and he might be this great quarterback, but those Seahawks and Saints, you said, and they didn't just sign Kirk Cousins. Now, I'm not saying you owe Kirk Cousins like a lifetime contract here, but you just gave him $100 million. That's why I think the process here is just flawed to me, because those other teams didn't go out and spend big money on a quarterback. So you could understand why they would want to get into the top 10 to get Michael Penix Jr. The Falcons decided in free agency, we were going to go for the biggest fish out there, and we were going to pay him handsomely. So then now, instead of using that top 10 pick and that number 8 pick to take someone who can contribute right away, you've now basically taken that pick and going to have that guy sitting for 2 years, maybe. That seems like a waste.
But
okay, well, then you wasted a lot of money.
Kirk Cousins, yes, maybe the Kirk Cousins, they overpaid for him. But listen, if it turns out the greatest regrets that Sean Payton ever had was not trading up, letting the Chiefs jump him. When he had Drew Brees at right around the same age Cousins is, he let the Chiefs jump him and get Patrick Mahomes, and he talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
The story came out again yesterday.
Yeah.
I think that the Falcons are like, we're letting a Patrick Mahomes guy, like a future many-time Pro Bowler, slip. We want him. We know he's going to be a star. They threw logic to the wind. Yes, the Cousins move was already made, but if Michael Penix is a star, then in 5 years, nobody's going to wonder about this move.
Okay,
There's not going to be anybody criticizing him.
But then here again is like where I would question maybe the Falcons thinking here. So it's like Michael Penix didn't fall from the sky as this out of nowhere quarterback that all of a sudden everyone's like, who's this Penix character? I mean, we watched him in the national championship game. We watched him play 2 all-time great games against Oregon and Bo Nix. We saw him play against Texas in the college football playoff. There was an inkling that he might have a little something long before you made the decision on Kirk Cousins.
Right.
Like, if you knew you needed a quarterback, but you wanted a bridge guy before you wanted your QB of the future, there's the Jacoby Brissetts of the world. There are other dudes, the Jameis Winstons. There are other guys who you don't have to pay $100 million to,
right,
who can give you a good shot to win the NFC South without having to make the major investment in Cousins. See, like, this is why if I'm if I'm an owner, I'm like, why? What did you just spend my money on?
Well, all the reporting is Arthur Blank wanted this move.
Okay,
it was his move.
Don't listen to that guy.
Well, the one thing though, they weren't. Whenever they signed Cousins, they weren't sure on Penix yet because obviously some medical question marks. When he ran that 4.5 at the pro day, it was over. He was going top 10 not because he's fast, but it shows that he has gotten rid of all the injuries. Like those are gone.
Okay, but Michael Penix ran that 40 before they signed Cousins.
Well, so he ran it on March 28th. When did they sign?
Oh, sorry. Was that at the combine or the pro day?
Pro day.
Okay, so around the same time.
I just think also.
But you had the medicals at the combine, and that's in February.
I think that but he didn't run at the combine. So I think that the NFL. I don't think they realized where Penix was going to go at that time. I think it became clear during the draft process. They must have heard that the Seahawks. Everyone knew the Seahawks wanted Penix. They must have heard the Raiders were in on Penix.
Yeah, well, the Seahawks made sense because they hired his college offensive coordinator.
And the Raiders made sense because Penix, I think that was the most natural fit. The most mocked pick was Penix going to the Raiders. He just felt like a Raider because he would get in that dome and throw it up to Devontae Adams. Now, the Saints, a little bit of a surprise, but the Saints had also been rumored for Penix because Derek Carr is older. I don't know. If he's a Pro Bowler, are we going to care? Who would the Falcons have had plenty of number 8 picks? They took Drake London. They took Kyle Pitts at 4. They took Bijan at 8. None of those guys make any impact. You might as well take the quarterback. They're probably like, well, we're going to take another skill guy who's going to let us down and be gone in 4 years. Man. Honestly, you over-invest in quarterback. It's what great teams always do. Over-invest, over-invest, over-invest. It's worth the risk.
Yeah, this one feels very much like an over-investment. Not because Penix might not be good, but again, you already gave Kirk $100 million, and I think you can win if the goal is to win the division, you're going to do that with Kirk Cousins, or most likely, if things, go as planned. Steven is in Tennessee. Let's get to the phones here at 855-212-4227. Good morning, Steven. You like this move?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Obviously, it depends how good Penix is. That's the big variable here.
Right.
But, I think I can respect the Falcons if they just realized after signing Cousins, like, Penix is just too valuable to pass up in a quarterback-driven league. Maybe they tried to trade down. We don't know. And they could potentially trade Cousins in a year, I think.
I have to look at the dead cap on that. I don't know if that's prohibitive at all to them trading Cousins. But, Steven, again, do you really bring Cousins in with the idea that you're going to flip him? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's possible. I know the Chiefs did end up trading Alex Smith to the Commanders, right?
Yeah. The calculus changes, though. To say that they knew exactly what was going on, I understand your logic. It's really interesting, Maggie, that they should have known they were going to get Penix at 8. I can forgive them for not knowing that at the start of free agency. I mean, you don't always know. It
would be a $37.5 million dead cap hit if they traded him before the 2025 season, according to what I'm seeing on overthecap.com. But, Steven, listen, you respect it. Again, whenever you say, and Steven's right about this, quarterback-driven league, it's like, can you ever make a mistake when you're trying to, when it comes to that position? I just think this was a mistake.
I mean, generally, though, we tend to remember, the Eagles had Carson Wentz. Nobody ever thought they were going to go quarterback. Got Jalen Hurts in the second round. I know second round is different, but that was still a shocking pick. The Chiefs with Mahomes, a lot of these times, overdrafting quarterbacks a much better strategy than underdrafting quarterback. Taking Chase Young over Justin Herbert is the dumbest move that ever happened.
Let's go to Scott. He's in California. He's excited about his Raiders. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you doing, Maggie and Perloff? First-time caller. I love your show. I just want to say the Raiders, I know we wanted to get Penix, but Matt Bowers, hey, the Raiders finally got it right, I think.
Scott, I respect that you are excited about this, and thank you for finding our show, and we appreciate it, and I hope you call back. I didn't like this pick at all. I really didn't understand this one. Listen, he's right. I think they want to get a quarterback, although you had mentioned, Perloff, Jay Glazer, who's as plugged in as anybody, had said the Raiders thought 13 was a little too rich for Michael Penix.
Apparently that's not the case because there's a lot of reporting the Raiders were all in on
and
Penix.
He went 8, so
yeah.
13 would have been nice and cozy.
I guess I was dead wrong about Jay this year. The thing about the Raiders pick is Brock Bowers, if it's another situation, the logic's weird because they already have Michael Mayer at tight end.
That's what I was thinking.
But Michael Mayer's the different kind of tight end. He's the big tight end. If he's a slot receiver, you weren't that into Dalton Kincaid when it happened, and then you realize, oh, you know what? They're just going to put this guy at slot receiver.
Yep.
So every team needs that guy. Every team needs first downs. You could do worse. I think once you did get rid of Penix, I have no problem with Brock Bowers. I would have wanted a quarterback because Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew that's tough. I feel like they're kind of putting Antonio Pierce behind the 8 ball here. This is going to be tough to win in that division.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there. But again, all the top 6 quarterbacks were gone at that point. So I don't love what the Raiders did because I feel like you would have taken, let's get some more dudes on the defense. Like, I get you have Max Crosby, but you can, and I know you signed Christian Wilkins for that really big free agent signing, but you're playing against Mahomes every year, twice a year. I think you can always go defense there. The first defensive pick ended up coming off the board 2 picks later. Latu from UCLA. I don't know. I didn't love this one. It felt redundant, even if they do have a slightly different skill set.
I'll just give you the argument. The best way to keep Patrick Mahomes from scoring a touchdown is to keep your offense on the field. And the best way to do that is get a little 9-yard first down to Brock Bowers, which we saw at Georgia a million times. So that you could say the possession receiver will help with that. I don't know. These defensive guys, I don't think were so exciting because nobody jumped on Dallas Turner right after them. So I get the Raiders' excitement. Oh, man, if they'd gotten a quarterback, this would be really exciting.
Yeah, again, I can't really fault them for that, though, because who knows, and I'm sure it will come out at some point, how aggressive were they to try and jump, I guess, Denver? I don't know. Maybe the Jets had already traded back once with the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe they didn't want to trade back again because they wanted to get one of the top offensive linemen who they ended up getting to try to protect Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if the Raiders were just stuck between a rock and a hard place, but you're right. You go into the AFC West, and that's a crazy division with Aiden O'Connell and with Gardner Minshew, and it feels like you're bringing a knife to a gunfight, so to speak.
It's such a funny dynamic here because the Atlanta picked Michael Penix, and everybody on social media, everybody in the media was like, what are they doing? But there were 3 war rooms where everyone was like, bleep, 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 what just happened? Because we thought we were getting Penix. I think the Raiders thought he would fall to them.
Yep,
just following, if people read the mock drafts, everybody had Penix going 13. And I think the Saints probably fell in love with him too. Yeah, so I think it's funny. Everyone's like, what are they doing? And all the other teams like, gosh darn it, we didn't get him. So maybe this is good. I'm really selling myself today on Michael Penix to Atlanta. I'm actually really excited. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy the Falcons jersey.
Oh, wow. Look at you. No conflict there when your Eagles play the Falcons at some point? No? You don't care.
You're allowed to like other players. You can't just like players on your team, right? Is that how it works?
Agree to disagree on that. Let's go to Barry. He's in Tampa. We're asking you, how do you feel about your team's pick today? And the phone lines are open at 855-212-4227. Barry, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys today?
We're doing great. What's on your mind?
Hey, so I just wanted to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Maggie, you mentioned them earlier. I'm like, I get it. You don't want to trade with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I didn't want to trade with the Cowboys during the 90s. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think it's important to recognize that we need additional picks. We do not have the cap space to go out and get free agents. If you watch those playoff games, our defense was so depleted.
Yep.
And we need a wide receiver, a couple of them at this point, need cornerbacks, need a safety. I think at this point, as long as we maximize those picks, I think we're going to be in good shape. But, I get it. Don't want to trade with the Chiefs, just like we didn't want to trade with the Cowboys during the 90s.
Yeah, it stings, Barry. It stings. And I don't know how the Bills are going to maximize this. They clearly want multiple bites at the apple. That's what this is all about. They now have 2 seconds. They don't have a third. That was the Rasul Douglas trade that they made at the trade deadline.
Good move.
Which was a good move. And I was for it because, again, the defense was depleted already at that point in the season. And he certainly helped. So until I think he got hurt. But anyway, this is it's a particular kind of pain if Xavier Worthy, who the Bills traded with the Kansas City Chiefs and basically handed them a speedster wide receiver, if that person comes back to bite you, I can't help it. I can't be logical when it comes to this. I can only wear my fan hat when it comes to this because the Chiefs have been the source of so much pain for the Bills and have essentially been the roadblock in the path to a Super Bowl. And so if you handed him a skill position player who's going to run wilder on the field if all things go right for the Chiefs, I'm sorry. All logic to me gets thrown to the wind there, and I don't want to hear it.
Well, I got to tell you, though, that I understand where you're coming from, but it's definitely a good move to get more picks. So, that's the rule. Every smart team in the history of the NFL, the more bites of the apple, the better. So, and I agree with the caller. It seems like the Bills need a lot of players. More picks is a good thing. Yeah, analytically, there's absolutely no reason for the Bills not to trade with the Chiefs. There's not a single logical reason for that, except that they're in the same conference. But who cares? Also, you're going from 28 to 34.
Well, they made two trades and they traded back again.
Yeah. What's the difference between 28 and 30? Is there it's a marginal difference? I mean,
well, if you believe in that fifth round pick, the 5th year option, then it's a big difference, right? If you want that extra year of guaranteed, salary guarantees.
But going back to the Chiefs trade, what's the difference if they're 32 or 28? Who knows if they're taking? I don't feel like Xavier Worthy would fit the Buffalo weather. They probably weren't going to take him anyway. I am very curious, why did the Chiefs jump up to get Worthy? Who was going to take him instead? They must have thought the 49ers were targeting Worthy. But I don't think Worthy was a pick for Buffalo. That dude really doesn't scream Buffalo to me.
He didn't really scream Buffalo to me either.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to pick him.
Again,
So it's a good move, right?
I don't want the Chiefs picking him, that's for sure, because I'm rightly scared out of my mind of the Chiefs. 49ers took Ricky Pearsall, where a lot of people thought that was a little surprising because he had been mocked. Lad McConkey, right, had been mocked. Some people mocked.
Yeah, I mean, Pearsall was definitely in the mix there. He had crazy combine numbers.
Yeah.
By the way, the Cowboys and the Eagles did a trade. They Micah Parsons, Devontae Smith, and honestly, I don't think anyone really cared. I think these are young GMs. They could care less about rivalries. They're looking at the bottom line and the numbers. I kind of like it. And the Chiefs, Bills have bigger problems. They have holes all over their roster. I don't have to worry about Xavier Worthy scoring a touchdown in the AFC title game. I need a defense.
Dude, they have a lot of problems, and they just, in my opinion, created another one where one didn't exist. Let's go to George. He's in L.A., wants to talk about his Rams. Hey, George.
Good morning. I really enjoy you guys' show as usual. But, yeah, I don't think the Rams thought Verse was going to be there. I think they were either trying to get Verse from Murphy, and once they couldn't get Murphy, then they got Verse. But I think it's a very good pick. I think it's as far as number 19, I think that was a very good pick. And the only thing that shocked me was Penix with Atlanta that early, just in my opinion.
Oh.
Anyway, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, George, totally shocking. I mean, Atlanta blew everybody out of the water with how shocking this was. Now, Adam Schefter did have one line about this in his news and notes column, and we did talk about it because – in your opinion, you felt like it was in there, but it was kind of a throwaway.
Well, yeah, but Rap Sheet came out and was much more open about it. Rap Sheet on that. I call him Rap Sheet. He basically said Arthur Blank wants Michael Penix in the afternoon on the show. It had to get to you're telling me that agent didn't see any of these reports? It seems insane to me. So the agent hid it from Kirk Cousins, who was probably driving around his kids in the minivan. So
hanging at Barnes & Noble.
The agent was clearly... He was probably mad all day because he knew this was in the offing. So this surprise shock thing, I think, is a little ridiculous. By the way, one thing about that, Jared Verse, there is no way in a million years that dude should have been there at 19.
No.
There are 3 picks that were absolute steals to me. The Rams at 19 with Jared Verse, the Eagles with 22 at Quinyon Mitchell. And how did the Lions get Terrion Arnold, the one player they desperately need? I feel like there's a real arms race in the NFC now because the Lions, Eagles, Niners, and maybe the Rams are all ridiculously good at this.
Yeah, I mean, I think because the 2 quarterbacks who we weren't expecting to go this high went that high, which is Penix and Bo Nix, and that really helped the board for some of these other teams. Now, there were some trades, obviously, and you had to get aggressive, but these guys were still there. Now, here's something interesting. George brought up the Rams. They take Jared Verse, who was 2-time All-ACC for FSU. I mean, he was just awesome. He was talked about at one point as a top 5 pick before everyone got crazy with the quarterbacks. There was a report before the draft that the Rams were trying to trade into the top 10 for an unnamed player that was not a quarterback. Now that we know how the first round went, who do you think that was? Because they have receivers. I mean, you got Cooper Kupp and you got Puka Nacua. You've won. Game, set, match. You know, you're good. So who could they have possibly want to trade up for?
Maybe Dallas Turner. I have no idea. Or maybe Byron Murphy. I think it would have had to be defense, right?
I guess so, but the first defensive player wasn't taken until pick 15. So why would they think they would have to trade up into the top 10? Anyway, just one of those questions. You are welcome to weigh in. Today is about you. 32 teams, 32 fan bases. We want to hear how you're feeling about what your team did last night. 855-212-4227. We're going to try to hit as much of this as we possibly can, but we're spread out, so what you want to talk about, you get the platform today. You get the microphone today. How do you feel about what your team did last night? 855-212-4227. Coming up, we will dive into winners and losers. Oh, my favorite. Winners and losers from round one. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sportsnet.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is here to satisfy your sweet morning cravings. Get your day off to a sweet start with Cinnabon Pull-Apart, only at participating U.S. Wendy's. The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Dover this weekend. Tyler Reddick heads into the race fifth in points after taking the checkered flag at Talladega last week. Weather in Dover is perfect, sunny and 80. Dover, by the way, basically a Philadelphia suburb. Lots of Eagles fans in the crowd for that one. One of my favorite races. Maggie, I understand you maybe ate some foods that you regret now.
Man.
Last night during the draft.
I wish I had the Wendy's Cinnabon pull-apart
that
thing.
sounds so good.
I know. I would give my left arm for that right now. But no, I got to be honest, guys. And, this is a safe space. I think the listeners would understand. I had a relapse last night. I had vowed to give up candy last year because I was putting down a box of Sour Patch Kids a day. This is when we were doing the afternoon show.
I can testify. That's fact.
It was bad. I was definitely, I don't want to throw this term around, but I was definitely addicted to them, and I could not stop with the Sour Patch Kids, and I quit cold turkey. And last night around 9 o'clock, my husband comes up to me, and he's like, hey, I just realized we don't have any coffee for tomorrow. We need some paper towels, whatever. I'm just going to run to the store real quick. Can I get you anything? And I was like, I'm tired. I know tomorrow's going to be a really big day. Can you get me some Sour Patch Kids? Perloff, he got me the resealable bag. So not just the box or the little bag. I have like an industrial size bag, like for multiple sittings. Like there's no shot you could get through this in one.
You got to throw that bad boy out, and you know it. You know you got to throw it out.
But I don't want to.
You got to, like a drug addict, you got to put it in the toilet and flush them down.
Can I flush Sour Patch Kids down the toilet?
Like Goodfellas, the cops are at the door, get rid of the Coke. You got to get rid of that stuff.
Honestly, I feel like quitting Coke would be easier. It is so tough to quit the Sour Patch Kids for me.
Sugar, honestly, sugar is so chemically addictive, even more so than Coke. Like once you have something sugar, like you need it.
By the way, not advocating use of any of those things. Maybe if I snort the Sour Patch Kids, is there something, some kind of workaround here?
I mean, no one here has crushed up Altoids and snorted those. I mean, come on. You got a final the next day, you're going to snort some Altoids. That's a fact.
Altoids.
You've never snorted Altoids?
The mint?
No, it's sort of a joke.
Oh my God. I was like, Perloff, you animal.
You can crush up Altoids and they look like an illegal substance, and you can fool some people.
That's what they do in movies or something when they need to pretend.
Probably.
Anyway, I'm back on the wagon.
Yes.
Off the wagon? On the wagon.
You're on the wagon.
Wait. I always get confused by this. You're off the wagon. You're not on the wagon. You're off the wagon. You fell off the wagon.
I fell off the wagon.
You're not on the wagon.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah, I fell off the wagon.
If you're on the wagon, that's good. You don't want to fall off the wagon.
Meanwhile,
the wagon's the safe place. Maggie has fallen off into the danger zone.
I am in the deep end, just drowning in Sour Patch Kids.
EJ, you weren't here with me when this was going on. Basically, about halfway through the show, she would bring out her bag of candy. The first 90 minutes of the show was like, you had to be careful around Maggie. Before she got her fix, she was tweaking, man.
I mean, the blood sugar was dropping rapidly. It's hard sometimes to do a show in the afternoon. Listen, what we do isn't hard. What we do is awesome. But it was really putting down a lot of sugar. And last night I relapsed big time.
Why is Maggie like doing these sudden jerks to the left?
Itching my neck.
Yeah. It was weird.
My lips are all
Josh
chalky.
Allen wasn't that bad last night. Jesus, Maggie. That's what are you thinking? Watching her tweaking during the show last year.
I know. I'm hard up. Joe's in Western New York. He knows what I'm talking about. Joe, tell us how your team did last night.
Maggie, I am so excited. I love the two picks. I especially love the Dallas Turner pick.
All right, you're a big Viking fan. Big Viking fan.
Big Vikings fan, and I thought we got the best quarterback of the night. So can you imagine Minnesota now with Aaron Jones in the backfield and us doing play action? Oh, my God.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty cool, Joe. Viking fans, and thank you for the phone call. I'm not high on McCarthy.
Yeah.
We know that. We've talked through that. But good God, that guy's walking into an awesome situation.
Well, it's funny because everyone, what the caller just said, play action. That's the J.J. McCarthy thing. They just let the greatest play action quarterback in the history of the NFL, Kirk Cousins, out the door. Nobody's better at the who invented this play action? It's a Kubiak thing. Nobody's better at that than Kirk Cousins. So aren't they just redoing what the model was before?
Great job. You just got younger, you got cheaper. And listen, Kirk, clearly his status is not where it was if the Falcons decided they needed Michael Penix last night to back him up.
I understand all the optimism, and I agree with you. The fit is amazing. But there's no way J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this class. That is just, I cannot wrap my head around that. This is a star-studded class. There's just no way J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams are the same thing.
No, Caleb and I think even Jaden, but Caleb for sure.
Maybe J.J. has a better rookie year. Very possible because of what you just said. But, I mean, I just can't. I need to be convinced. I really need to be convinced that this guy is the elite guy that everyone thought.
Oh, me too. I mean, that's where we asked the other day, is he going to be a star? I think I didn't think so. But, man, I mean, we talked about it. You're walking into a great situation, and I really loved how Minnesota then got Dallas Turner. I mean, you're saying he fell. Do people know something? Also, I think sometimes everyone was just so offensively minded last night. The first 14 picks are offense. Maybe you just get lucky. I think Jared Verse is awesome, and he went, 19 to the Rams? Like, there were good players on the defensive side who were available, and I applaud the Vikings for trading up to get Dallas Turner.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the market does not lie. Dallas Turner was good, but, I mean, it wasn't Will Anderson. I don't think, obviously, if he was a generational defensive player, he would have gone higher than 17. He wasn't even the first edge to go. Like Latu who had retired because of his neck injuries went ahead of him. So I'm not sure it was there. Maybe I'm wrong. The other thing, though, you say this is a great situation, but they have not really wrapped up Justin Jefferson. And I've always thought Justin Jefferson's got a little NBA feel. Like he might be like, can I win a championship here? So they're going to have to pay him. And we've been talking a lot. Wide receiver prices are going crazy. He's going to want to get paid like Mahomes, like $50 million a year.
Well, now you got a cheap quarterback, so you can do it.
You can do it.
Can't let him walk out the door.
It feels just a little bit uncertain to me on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, that's interesting. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be able to get the ball, I guess, to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison enough with T.J. Hawkinson? Here is J.J. McCarthy. Let's hear from him last night. He was not at the draft. He was home. Big celebration. He said every quarterback in the draft wanted to go to Minnesota.
For me, it was obviously if I could choose, if this was a college recruiting process, that would be the guys I would be going to. But, every QB in the class that I interacted with wanted to go to Minnesota. So, it's just amazing honor to be able to be selected to this great organization and this great, culture that I'm excited to be a part of. And I can't wait to get with the guys and get rolling.
I think he's telling the truth there. I bet when they're sitting around these quarterbacks at the combine and BSing and stuff, or at Topgolf or whatever, all the places they were together, I bet they were saying the best situation is Minnesota because they're right. If you're talking about weapons and paired with a head coach who's offensively minded, I think that Minnesota is super appealing.
Absolutely. I have a question about J.J. McCarthy. What was that weird answer to Rich Eisen about how the Giants were going to draft him? That still is making no sense. He said to Rich Eisen, I've had 2 visits, spent the most time with the Giants. Then the Giants were sitting there at 6 and took LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors. I still want to know what happened there. Like, why did J.J. answer that question that way? Why did the Giants not want J.J.? Like, what's really the bottom line here?
Well, you could really say, why did he answer that question that way? He basically threw all the other quarterbacks kind of under the bus, not under the bus, but he revealed like, hey, everyone wanted to go to Minnesota. So if I'm a reporter, I'm asking Caleb Williams, is that true? I'm asking Jane Daniels, is that true? And Drake Maye and Penix, like, I'm going to follow up on that. What kind of conversations were you having about Minnesota and see if I get a story?
So let me ask you this, and maybe he answers, maybe it's out there. Who do you think the Vikings really wanted? I think it seems like it was Drake Maye. Like that.
Oh, well,
that at the end of the day, they were all about trying to get up there, desperately trying to get up there. So that's why I feel like J.J. McCarthy's a bit of a consolation prize.
Well, maybe. But again, you're picking 11. You weren't picking 3. So getting your plan B, I don't think the Patriots were ever trading out.
I'll bet you someday a story comes out where the Vikings offered to get up to 3. Because I worry that what is the ceiling for J.J. McCarthy? Drake Maye has, to me, a much higher ceiling.
855-212-4227. Quickly, before we get to Bogusch's update, Birdie is in Florida, has a very important question. Birdie, go ahead.
Yes, this is life-changing for the NFL. Did anybody else notice about that Drake Maye didn't have a belt? And does this mean he doesn't pay attention to detail? terrible dresser.
It was a light-colored suit. I'm trying to get a photo here so I didn't notice the belt.
There is no belt. I tweeted about this and he was not the only one that didn't have a belt and not suspenders. I don't know. And then somebody told me that the new thing is that like pants have like an internal belt and like an elastic or something.
Like mom jeans?
I have a green suit that I love that does not have an ability to use like a belt.
But I'm looking at this photo of Drake Maye right now on the red carpet.
And he has empty belt loops.
It's empty belt loops. That's a bad look.
And I can't comprehend this. Like there are mornings, like I lay my clothes out in the morning in a different room so I'm not bothering my wife while I'm getting ready at 3:30 in the morning. And there have been times where I have forgotten to take a belt out of my closet and I go back into my bedroom to get it because I can't fathom walking around a day without a belt. I don't know how you do it. It's just imperative. So I saw it right away. Other guys didn't have it. And now apparently belts are out. We're just done with belts.
While you were sleeping, belts are out.
I'm not wearing a belt right now. And not because of a choice, just I can never find my belt in the morning. You guys ever have that? Where the heck is my belt?
I've had that.
Oh my gosh, my husband leaves it everywhere. It's like, why is this on the couch?
It's just it's the first thing I take off when I get home. I mean, I get into sweatpants as fast as humanly possible the second I walk in the house. But I never know. Right now, I don't know where my belt is. Yesterday, I had to wear a belt, and you guys probably didn't even notice. I had this sort of gift Callaway belt with a gigantic buckle that didn't really fit well. That had been given to me in like 2014 because I couldn't find any of my belts that fit.
Birdie, good call. Did you like the sneakers though on Drake Maye? He had the Carolina blue tie. He was wearing a light gray suit, and he had the like low Air Force One dunks with the Carolina blue.
I missed that, but I'm wondering if this means he's a bust that he can't pay attention to his belt.
Listen,
it's a fair question.
Red flags all over the place, Birdie. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Now we should make sure we get that to the New England Patriots front office. They're going to want that info.
Well, why was Jaden Daniels wearing a Carolina blue suit at number 2? That was interesting, too. Like, he was wearing the powder blue suit, and Drake Maye was wearing a gray suit. Did they talk about this? Like, do these
Maye had the Carolina tie.
Yeah.
So
I know, but it was just like, it was funny that right before he went, that is traditional powder blue for Jaden Daniels, who did look good. I think they all look pretty good. Terrion Arnold is first of all, my favorite person in this draft.
Pepto-Bismol pink.
Oh, he looked so awesome, and then he got the crowd hyped up. That was the best. The guy Detroit picked.
Who had the lime green suit? Was that Dallas Turner?
Yes.
By the way, Maggie, can you tell us what you said about Caleb Williams before?
So
it was like 6:45. You were saying something.
Yeah, so it's like he had a asymmetrical jacket, double-breasted, that had a zipper, and it had a pocket that had some kind of design, and I couldn't see what the design was, and I thought it was an Adidas logo. I'm like, damn, guy, like, you're going to make a ton of money. Don't worry. You don't have to be a walking Adidas logo. Look, upon closer review, it was several crosses that were like fading in size, and it just looked like that Adidas, sort of triangle or whatever. And I was like, this guy's a walking billboard. This is never going to work. But it turns out he's fine.
My first thought after yesterday's conversation was that it reminded me of whatever symbol Prince used when he was not Prince.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Which would have been amazing.
He wore the necklace, so just the male sign that Prince used to wear. Or maybe that was Austin Powers. No, Prince used to wear whatever his symbol was.
Yeah, when he wasn't Prince, when you couldn't call him Prince, he was like the artist formerly known as Prince. It was just this weird, cross and a P top to it, like a loop at the top.
Yeah, kind of like a guitar a little bit if you squint. But it would have been awesome if he showed up with a blouse, like a puffy, like whatever Prince was wearing.
A guitar.
Okay, we see you guys on the phones. We get back to you. Today is about you. How did you feel your team did in the draft in round 1? 855-212-4227. Bogusch, what do you have for us?
Starting last night's draft in Detroit with 14 consecutive offensive players, doubled the previous record set 3 years ago. That run included 6 quarterbacks over the first 12 picks, which included the Michael Penix stunner to the Falcons. The offensive love ended with the Colts on the clock.
Laiatu Lotu, defensive end, UCLA.
The Seahawks followed with Texas D tackle Byron Murphy II, and then the Vikings traded up to number 17 for Alabama pass rusher Dallas Turner. The round also included FSU pass rusher Jared Verse going to the Rams and corner Terrion Arnold, who Perloff just mentioned, heading to Detroit. Now the Bills are poised to further annoy Maggie with the first pick of round 2 tonight after trading back twice all the way out of the first round altogether last night. Now, there was a report during the draft that the Patriots and Vikings checked in recently with the Chargers about Justin Herbert's availability and were quickly told to leave us alone. So New England went with Drake Maye and Minnesota took J.J. McCarthy. And I mentioned this last hour, the Eagles are paying A.J. Brown now 3 years, $84 million guaranteed. He and Devontae Smith now locked up for a while, and the other elite receivers have another contract to negotiate off of.
Wait, so Perloff, how do you feel about the A.J. Brown? Because there were questions about locker room and him getting along with Jalen Hurts or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about traffic.
What kind of traffic?
Traffic when the parade on Broad Street makes I-95.
The Denver Nuggets are almost done with the Lakers.
Murray has it across the timeline. He gets a high pick there from KCP. Another one from Jokic. Murray moves off of that to the elbow. Dumps it off to Gordon and a dunk with 2 hands. Aaron Gordon, 24 in the game for Denver. They do not have an answer for AG.
The reigning champs in the NBA, Jason Kosmiski, Nuggets Radio. Aaron Gordon, a career playoff high 29 points plus 15 rebounds. Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr. also 20-point games in this 112-105 win in L.A. That's a 3-0 series lead, an 11-game win streak head-to-head. Uh-oh, LeBron.
I mean, you give credit where credit is due with Denver as well, man. Those guys make tough shot after tough shot after tough shot.
Especially against you. The Sixers and Magic did what the Lakers did not. Philly outscored the Knicks 125-114 behind 50 from Joel Embiid, and Orlando roughed up Cleveland 121-83 to avoid 0-3 as well. Hockey playoffs, the Panthers a 5-3 win in Tampa Bay. The Hurricanes a 3-2 win on Long Island. Florida and Carolina lead those series 3-0. The only baseball game last night, the A's got a split of 4 at Yankee Stadium, 3-1. Mason Miller, Cade Juan Soto, then got Aaron Judge to fly out to right to finish off a 4-out save. And prized prospect, or recruit, I should say, Boogie Fland is following John Calipari to Arkansas. The New York City prospect originally committed to Kentucky. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Just got something here across the socials about the 49ers. This is interesting. We'll get to that in just a moment. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff straight ahead.
You're in a 5-minute break. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Talk about some of the sillier moments from the draft last night. Caleb Williams and his family playing Uno in the green room.
Love it.
Trying to pass the time. He had a couple girlfriends that seemed to get boxed out by a couple moms in some photos and pictures. And as a mom, I get it. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Today's about you. How'd you feel about your team in the first round of the draft? Eddie's in Arizona, big Raider fan. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. What do you think about your Raiders?
At first it was a shock. I thought they would have went O-line or maybe cornerback, but as the day went on and saw the highlights and Brock Bowers' pass, that was the best option available. That could be a Travis Kelce Jr. right there in the making.
Yeah, Eddie, I get it. I do. I just have a hard time thinking that was your biggest need. And I know they'll say, well, you don't draft for need, Maggie. You draft the best available, and Bowers was unbelievable at Georgia. But I just felt like that pick could have been used in a different spot. But again, that's me, Eddie. If you have the next Travis Kelce, then congrats to you.
No, I think the only problem is that they didn't get a quarterback. To me, they're one of the big draft losers because I think they wanted a quarterback. You're really going with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. After that, who cares? What difference does a position make? Because I'm going to be honest, poor Antonio Pierce, he's not going to win with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. So I don't care if you have all pros at every spot. They need a quarterback, Maggie. How are you going to get one?
I don't know. You got Tom Telesco sitting there as your general manager. I don't know what options you have right now, because even if you get one of the next tier of quarterback.
Like a Spencer Rattler in the second round?
Sure, you get a Spencer Rattler or a guy from Tulane.
Michael Pratt.
Pratt. Are they actually any better than Gardner Minshew? These are guys who are really projected more to be backups.
They're right in the same wheelhouse as Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Yeah, you're just doing the same thing.
The whole thing, 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. That really is what the Raiders are going with here. But, and this is the whole thing about the Raiders that I don't know what to think. Devontae Adams has basically pledged his allegiance to the team and to the city and says he doesn't want to leave. I just don't know how he would want to stay. And I'm sorry to say that to the Raider fans, but you have a guy who's on a Hall of Fame track, and now you're having passes thrown to you by Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. That is not going to get you to Canton. This is real stuff. I'm not saying he should be selfish that way, but you got to be thinking, what am I doing here? I'm wasting the latter prime of my career.
Yeah, he might get to Canton anyway. That's an interesting case. But if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. Unless you're Atlanta, if they have 2 quarterbacks, they have 2 quarterbacks.
They do
which
have
might
2.
even be worse.
They've got Kirk Cousins and Penix. They definitely got 2 guys.
Yeah, that's an exception to the rule. You're right. The Raiders, obviously, when you talk about the Raiders, let's be honest, there's questions about ownership.
Yep.
Do we ever really trust Mark Davis? Because there have been some funny moves over the years. John Gruden since. I feel like there's reason to be excited if you're a Raiders fan. There's obviously a lot of talent in the building, but it feels like it's got to get cohesive. And I don't know if Tom Telesco can do it immediately.
Well, and just last one on the Raiders, how much time does Antonio Pierce have? They removed the interim tag. The players like him. I think that was actually a smart decision, unless you were going to go with a Belichick or somebody who's like, they've got all the experience in the world and all of that. The guys liked Antonio Pierce. That's okay for me. That's enough.
He's interesting. Yeah, no, he's definitely cool, but it's the front office and the ownership.
By the way, did you see Tom Brady's ownership stake in the Raiders is close to being finalized, which would basically take him out of a comeback.
For now.
John W. is in Western New York, is a big Steeler fan. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How you doing, guys?
We're doing good. You're not feeling good about your Steelers.
No, well, it's a solid pick,
Yeah.
okay? But I just thought that, much with everybody doing what they did, and they had the top two cornerbacks, you had Mitchell and Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they would grab one of those two guys in a division where you got Lamar Jackson and Burrows. I mean, that would not only that, but I mean, because Porter's will be his second year, they'd have two excellent cornerbacks for the next 4 years or so. So we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, I guess in Omar Khan, we trust. So we'll see what happens. But that's all I got to say for today, and we'll see what happens. That's where I'm at.
John, we were talking about this yesterday, and thank you for the phone call. You really can never be mad at your front office when they take an offensive lineman. Now, this is a guard, Troy Fautanu, I think I'm pronouncing that right, out of Washington. Now, this is 2 years in a row where you're taking offensive line for the Steelers, and this is all about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, right? I mean, you've already... Now, talk about two quarterbacks. Do you have one? The Steelers fit into that category also. Who is going to win this job? Or even if Russ wins it, how long does he actually hold on to it? Having an offensive line to make sure this quarterback experiment works is paramount.
Yeah, so here's the thing. They already have Joey Porter Jr., which you mentioned. Like, you already killed it at cornerback. So I think line is more important. Also, I think this guy, they have problems. I was reading about Dan Moore. People hate this guy in Pittsburgh. They hate their current tackle. I'm not even sure if he's still there. So, yeah, I totally agree. Never go wrong with line. Omar Khan, there's about 4 GMs who have made nothing but hit. I think he gets the benefit of the doubt. How he got Joey Porter at 33 last year is still amazing to me. You got Broderick Jones. That seemed like a value. I mean, he's had a lot of later round picks that have worked. So I trust in that dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah.
I mean, he's batting like 70%.
No, I get it, but you also have wide receivers who I know in the past you've taken guys who, might have some question marks. Like the Steelers were in a real funk last year. I don't know.
Well, that was a coach. Their offensive coordinator was terrible.
Yeah, and like Roethlisberger is calling out the culture of the team, and I know that's kind of maybe, interesting coming from Ben.
Break, yeah.
But you do have like guys who are scrubbing their social media and doing all that nonsense.
Look at last year's draft. They got Broderick Jones that killed the Jets on that one. They got Joey Porter Jr. at 33, or 32 rather, because there was one pick taken away. Keanu Benton is really good. Darnell Washington, that huge tight end, and Nick Herbig, who's already contributing. Like they might be the best drafting team in the AFC right now. They're really, really good, but they don't have a quarterback. They have two quarterbacks.
They have two quarterbacks.
They have two quarterbacks. Are they closer to the Raiders or are they closer to Atlanta? I
think they're closer to Atlanta.
Do they have two quarterbacks? I don't know. I really am not sure.
How many teams in the league have two quarterbacks, but they really have one, or just have two quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's a complicated poll question that you have to explain for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, maybe not worth it. But this is the league now, right?
By the way, one more with. The Kenny Pickett pick was not good. I will admit that.
Right. I was like, I know there's something here with Omar Khan, but now does that get pinned a little bit more on Tomlin? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to take risk at quarterback.
Yeah, Pickett, that's a bad one considering he basically wanted to leave town to become a backup quarterback for Jalen Hurts. Way to compete, pal. 855-212-4227. All right, the biggest surprise from last night, we got it for you on a silver platter. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff across the country on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. .4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
With the 8th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington.
What? That was the big surprise of the first round last night. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We gasped when the Atlanta Falcons took Michael Penix Jr. Perloff because they had just spent all this money on Kirk Cousins in free agency. They gave Kirk about $100 million guaranteed for 2 years and then also selected Penix with a top 10 pick. Make it make sense.
Well, the thinking is that they got a Patrick Mahomes-like future superstar. Penix, I think if there was no health questions, there would be no doubt he's a top 10 pick. We all saw him just completely ball out last year. I know you and many other people brought out he struggled against Michigan. Well, guess what? Everybody struggled against Michigan. Every single good, I mean, C.J. Stroud didn't look good against Michigan. He's amazing in the NFL. And if you watch that game, basically the Washington O-line folded like a cheap deck of cards, and Penix they were on top of him. He was amazing last year. He runs fast. He's got huge hands. He's supposed to be a great personality. So he's a top 10 level quarterback. So let's start there. So if that's the case, if you think this guy is a star, you throw logic to the wind, because I think every team in the league wish they had taken Patrick Mahomes at 10. So if you look back on him 5 years and he's a perennial all-pro, the process is not going to matter.
Okay, here's my counter to that. Michael Penix is not a mystery, okay? This was a guy who's out there playing in the biggest possible college football games imaginable. I'm watching guys from Toledo getting taken to the first round. You're telling me no one in the Falcons thought, maybe Michael Penix is somebody we could be intrigued by, let alone one of the 6 quarterbacks who ended up going in this draft, of which the Falcons were in a good spot. You're picking 8th. You're going to get one of these QBs. Now, not the top 3, it turns out, but you're going to get somebody. So whose idea was it to give Cousins all this money?
Well, they signed Cousins on March 11th, and then the first time we saw Michael Penix run was March 28th. Maybe they thought, I bet you
saw him run in the championship game. You saw him run in the college football playoff game against Texas. Like we saw him. They didn't really run a ton, but you know what I mean.
No one knew those knees was going to run 4.52. Here's the thing. I think that they probably, I'll bet you, and I don't have truth serum, they thought maybe Penix would be there at the top of the second round. Maybe they, in their head, they're like, okay, we're going to sign Kirk Cousins, then we're going to get someone high up in the second round, Nix or Penix. And then it became very clear on draft night that was not happening, that everybody in the league was jumping up to get those guys.
Listen, if you are actually had to wait to watch Michael Penix run a 40 at his pro day, that to me is also flawed, because anybody can put it together for the pro day. Do you really know that his knees are that much better because he could run 140, or maybe he did it twice, I don't know, but basically one day where he ran the 40? That we've seen guys gain weight, lose weight. Kenny Pickett was doing hand exercises to stretch out his fingers before his combine. Like, you know, you're basically getting ready for the big event, and anyone can look great on prom night. But how do you look, you know, and what are you like every other day of the year is what people should be looking for in a top 10 pick. So that, if it's true, and the Falcons had to wait for Penix to run that 40 to really fall in love with him, that's flawed.
Well, no, I think they were in love with him. I think that during the draft process, it became clear he was going a lot higher than everyone realized. I think they probably thought, oh, man, we can get that guy later. If they had taken him with the top pick in the second round, would you have a problem with this?
Well, no, but here's the thing. It's just, you have a top 10 pick, and you signed Kirk Cousins to this huge deal. We're obviously talking about the Falcons and their move last night. You don't think there's anyone else at 8 where you would be better served to put that person on the team immediately to help you win a division title and try to get to the NFC Championship game at least? You know, that's my other part of this. That's the same thing I said when the Packers did this, when they took Jordan Love over when Aaron Rodgers was still on the team. Like, why are you putting the future ahead of the present when you're an all-in right now team? It's like you're trying to do both here. You're like, you're splitting the baby.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, is that a pro or a con for this move? You're saying you're citing Jordan
Love. It's a con.
Well, it's a pro. The Packers are going to have 35 years of elite quarterback play because they did that really gutsy move.
Oh, my God. 4 years later. I mean, they could have.
Yes. I mean, that's how it works. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years and gave them, 12 amazing years. Now Jordan Love's about to give them 12 amazing years. This is the ultimate blueprint. This is the success. This is what Atlanta wants.
When Rodgers did it, it was basically the black and white era that compared to what the NFL is now. And you could have possibly had another Super Bowl. Not, okay, you've got your quarterback. The Packers could have found 4 quarterbacks of the future in the time that Jordan Love sat there.
You're saying that the number 26, actually it was a 30 pick. They traded from 30 to 20. That was going to make any difference in Aaron Rodgers' future there?
Listen, here's the thing. Why do we love the draft so much if we don't think that guys can contribute at times right away or can be more developmental? The draft wouldn't be as popular as it is if we didn't think these guys can contribute. And every team has an example of a rookie playing a big role for them. And so if I'm an all-in team like the Falcons, I just spent all this money for Kirk Cousins, why wouldn't I want to get someone with a top 10 pick who I think can contribute right away?
I understand your theory.
Yeah.
Of course, that makes sense. But what if you're sitting there, you're number 8, Atlanta, and then the Raiders trade up to number 9. You love this guy, Michael Penix. I know you signed Kirk Cousins, but you love him. You're like, oh, man, I've done the evaluation. I've looked at tape. I know this guy is going to be a star. You're at number 8. You take a defensive pass rusher who may or may not contribute, may or may not be good, and then Penix goes 9 and is a 10-time Pro Bowler. You're telling me you're not going to be kicking yourself? Sometimes you do crazy things, and overdrafting quarterback is a smart strategy because this is a first round. You don't get shots at quarterbacks later. I mean, now it's changed, unfortunately, aside from Brock Purdy. It's just generally you got to take your shot at quarterback. You can find all these other guys later in the draft. There's almost any other position. Left tackle and quarterback are really valuable.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Jaime is in Georgia. Jamie. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning. Good morning, you guys.
You're a big Falcons fan?
Yes, ma'am, I am. LaGrange, Georgia. Born and raised every year for 42 years. Falcon fan. Falcon man.
LaGrange, stand up. So what do you think about the move last night?
I love it. I think that the Falcons made a great decision. We're putting our future ahead of us right now. We got Kirk Cousins. We did sign him, but he's coming off the Achilles heel, and we don't know if that injury's going to hold up, if that ankle is going to hold up. Mm-hmm. And we got a quarterback that we can plug in and play if Kirk goes down. We got a quarterback that has a big arm. He's precise with his accuracy on passing. He make good decisions, and he can run. So I'm thinking that the Falcons did excellent because if you look back a few years ago, we took a pass rusher. We took Vic Beasley, and then he gave us one good year.
Yep.
And then after that, you know how it ended. So I think with Raheem Morris being a defensive-minded coach, he can find other great pass rushers in the free agency coming up. He can get more people to come now, I think, to Atlanta. So
listen, Jamie, that's a good point, and thank you for the phone call and representing the Atlanta area here on what they might be thinking this morning and people being positive. That's a good point. Listen, you do have a defensive-minded head coach, so you'd like to think that person is going to be able to make a lot out of whatever you have. And they have guys. You got Jesse Bates, you got AJ Terrell, you still have Grady Jarrett. I mean, you do have guys who are good on this defense, and you hope the coach really makes his impact there. So that's a good point.
It's funny, too. They seem snake-bitten at pass rusher. They've always wanted. I mean, was Jonathan Abram there? And, they've never really had consistent pass rushers. Think of Atlanta's great teams. That's just not who they are. But Zach Robinson's interesting. He's a Sean McVay acolyte, their offensive coordinator. Yep. If he sees something in Penix, that's another reason to be psyched about him. I think this is going to be great.
For the flip side, we go to Adrian in Maryland, who does not like the pick. Adrian, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hey, Perloff, why are you trying to justify this pick here?
Because I love Michael Penix.
You can love him all you want. He's not going to help the team. He's not helping the team for 3 to 4 years.
No, he'll definitely be on the field this year.
When?
Kirk Cousins is going to come out of his Achilles injury, and I'm sorry, whatever Aaron Rodgers says, it's just not true. Kirk Cousins has a huge injury risk this year.
If Penix is on the field, that means Atlanta is having a terrible season. I'm going to tell you that right now. If he's on the field, that means they're having a bad season. And you can tell in the war room, those guys didn't want this pick. They did not want this pick.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Adrian. So you basically have to be a body language expert to figure out what's going on in the war room. Adrian mentioned it. And Adrian, appreciate you weighing in as always. Have a good weekend. It's Terry Fontenot, who is the general manager of the team, and it's Arthur Blank, who is the owner. Now, you're the writer here. If you were to describe the scene that we saw of the two of them talking, how would you describe it?
Okay. It seemed like the GM was trying to explain something that the owner was not quite grasping. So he had to really get his hands involved in what was going on.
Yes, it felt like a guy who was basically trying to explain something to save his life, to save his life or career. It was like, no, but you have to see, this is what we're thinking and this is what we're thinking. Now, again, we're reading a video that has no audio to it. But if you were a body language expert, this looked like a guy who was fighting for his life to try to explain to the owner what just happened.
Right. Well, except that we know the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport said in the afternoon that it was Arthur Blank's pick, which makes much more sense. The owner always goes quarterback, right? The owner's like, no,
Sell
I
tickets.
don't want a pass rusher. I want Michael Penix. So this was, I think, very obviously Arthur Blank's decision, which is never a good thing, by the way. But it might work out anyway.
Here is the GM of the Falcons. His name is Terry Fontenot. He says the team could not pass up on Penix talent.
Being able to add Michael Penix Jr., when you can add a high-caliber player like that with his intangibles, those tools, he's a winner. Very, very excited. You don't pass up that opportunity.
Okay, he also went on to say that Kirk is the current Falcons quarterback, so Cousins has the job. I'd hope so. What does $100 million buy you these days? But Penix is the future.
Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. We're very excited about Kirk, very excited about this team. And Michael Penix we're talking about the future. The draft is, you look at the future and you look at big picture, but we are very excited about that quarterback room. And again, Kirk is our quarterback.
I'll tell you, if you were really cynical about this whole thing, you would look at the offseason that the Falcons had, right? Where Belichick is meeting with Arthur Blank multiple times. Belichick told people he thought he had this job. Thought he had it wrapped up, thought that the meetings were going well, and that other people in the front office, whether this is true or not, actively did not want Belichick in the building because they were afraid that he was going to essentially clean house, right? That he was going to deem them all irrelevant because he wanted to put his, sort of stamp on the team.
Right.
This front office did the ultimate job-saving move. 2 of them. Let me spend your money, Arthur Blank, to get you a quarterback right now who's at the top of the free agent market, and also let me get the guy for the future. It's brilliant if you're just trying to save your job. So there you go. 855-212-4227. Checkers. 3D chess, not checkers.
I wonder if Belichick was the coach, would Penix be the pick? Because if Arthur Blank is really the one calling the shots and Belichick wanted to go there, would he have co-signed on this?
Well, remember, Belichick was going to be more collaborative.
Right.
We'll see if that actually would have been true.
I feel like Belichick would have, tackled Arthur Blank before that card would have went to the NFL. I don't know. I cannot imagine him knowing value. We saw how harshly he grades quarterbacks, and Penix is a very good quarterback, so he may think Penix is fine. But signing a guy coming off an Achilles to $100 million and drafting a quarterback, I feel like Bill Belichick
wouldn't have made either of these moves.
I feel like he'd rather, sing Taylor Swift in front of, Mercedes-Benz Stadium than do that.
I think you're right. I don't think if he was the Patriots head coach, they were taking Drake Maye at 3. And I don't think if he was the Falcons head coach, they were going to be taking Michael Penix Jr. at 8.
Well, I think that's probably why people didn't want to hire Belichick, right? I think you're right, because he did such a bad job, really, with the Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, whatever situation. Sure. Like, you probably don't want him in the room for your quarterback selection, I would think. Even watching last night, I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure he's where the league is right now.
Well, here's the question. Who would you rather have influencing your pick, Bill Belichick or the owners? Because we know Jonathan Kraft, the son of Robert Kraft, was involved, we know, in the Patriots pick. And obviously Arthur Blank is very involved with the Falcons.
But the reality is, how many teams would have picked Drake Maye at number 3? Probably,
a lot.
Probably all of them. So, even Belichick might have.
I think Belichick would have taken the bait, though. I think he would have traded back for the haul.
Maybe, but there would have been a lot of pressure. And I think Penix was lasting, 1 or 2 more picks? So it's not like these guys were way off market.
Yeah, that's true.
Belichick, too. You're right, Belichick probably would have traded down. But honestly, you saw the Patriots offense last year. You can't let Bill Belichick decide who's going to be on your offense. That's one of the reasons he didn't get hired. They were awful last year.
So there was some rumors about how the Patriots were planning to get really good on offense really fast. We'll get to that rumor. Did not come true yet. We'll see if there's any legs for it on day 2. Also, more for you on the 49ers. Adam Schefter up early and talking about the 49ers and get a little behind the scenes of what was going on in the 49ers war room last night. So we'll bring that to you as well. Today is about you. We're spread all over the country here, so we want to hear how you feel about your team's first-round pick. 32 teams, 32 fan bases. We're going to try to hit everybody, but we want to hear from you. It's about you today. Open phones, 855-212-4227. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of exciting picks. But the most popular team, once again, kind of boring on draft night, Maggie. When are we going to get some all-in action out of Dallas?
Let's hit it. It's like they keep telling us what they're going to do without telling us, you know? Dallas Cowboys, as predictable as ever. You think they're going to get weird and wacky? No, they're going to take Tyler Guyton. He's an offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. They always do this. You can't get mad at it. I've been critical of the Cowboys of 100 different things. I will never criticize a team, especially one who's got the track record of drafting incredible offensive linemen like they have. I can't argue with it. Do they need a receiver? Definitely. They'll get one later. This, I cannot argue with the Cowboys.
Yeah, so they got Tyler Guyton following 2 years ago, Tyler Smith.
Yes.
Following 10 years ago, Tyron Smith.
Right.
So linemen that start with TY. And they also got a defensive end named Tyrone. At some point, I was looking at this last night. Isn't it bizarre that there's two Tyler? Anyway, it always seems to work. They have had a lot of success. Remember when they took Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel? They took Travis Frederick in the first round. There, you cannot argue with this logic. They are ironically a very smart drafting team. They just say silly things.
That's your Cowboy Quickie. Staying true to the word today. It is just a quick one here with the Cowboys. They had a press conference for like an hour last week, and they talked about offensive linemen for like 30 minutes out of that hour. Then Jerry said some ridiculous stuff about how they're all in on free agency. Okay, sure. And that got the headlines. But they talked forever about offensive line. They love it. Levi is in Arkansas. How's it going?
Oh, hey, it's pretty good. Not bad. I like the Cowboys pick. I get it. You want to protect your assets. But didn't we lose all of our games because we couldn't stop the run? So
fair point.
So who would you guys go after? If we were going to get a defensive person, who would you have picked instead of this offensive line?
Okay, so let's think about for the Cowboys, who was still on the board at that point. There were no more defensive players who were taken after Darius Robinson out of Missouri for the Cardinals at 27. Thank you for the phone call very much and weighing in.
I'll tell you who. Well, there was a couple guys.
Yeah.
So Johnny Newton from Illinois, who's awesome, a defensive tackle. I'm not sure he exactly fits. I have no idea about the line fit. So he didn't go in the first round, and he's awesome. And also right in their backyard, Edgerrin Cooper, who's amazing. They're Texas A&M linebacker. So those are two guys. By the way, I was actually thinking they should trade up to get Edgerrin Cooper. But I don't know. You could get that position, run stuffers and linebackers, interior linebackers, someone to replace Van Der Esch. You could get that in second, third round. So I'm not killing them at all for that. That's not a position where you need to use high first-round picks.
Well, the other part is you brought in Mike Zimmer. So he is a guy who loves using linebackers for this specific reason. You have to think he's got somebody in mind who he likes, and you also have to think just his commitment to that is just a little bit different than Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's a great defensive coordinator, but that just wasn't, that's not his style.
Also, the Cowboys could definitely take a receiver in the second round.
They need one.
They
should. They need a receiver. You got to get CeeDee Lamb some help.
This is a superstar class of second-round receivers. You should be excited as a Bills fan. There's probably 8 guys who are going to be 1,000-yard receivers. That's what this draft is. It's going to be awesome.
Let's hit Dustin. He's in Tennessee. Good morning, Dustin. What's up?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for the call. I just wanted to touch on the Penix pick earlier.
Yeah, stunning.
And how Cousins has 4 years on his contract, and assuming that he goes the 4 years, then you're going to have Penix, who's going to be closing in on 30 before he can touch the field unless an injury. That's what was questionable to me. And then in reference to my Tennessee Titans, did I want a flashier pick at 7? Yes, but I'm finally glad that the GM and the team drafted a position of need first versus a flashy player.
Oh,
so
Dustin, you guys got a stud.
That's a move forward.
You guys got a stud. You know, you did some things in free agency. You know, you brought in Calvin Ridley. Dustin, thanks so much for the call. J.C. Latham out of Alabama. This dude, that's a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like it?
Well, yes. How many times was Jalen Milroe under pressure in like half a second? I think that was more their left tackle. But yeah, obviously. But the Titans, what do you mean did do what have they done flashy picks? Who are these flashy picks they're talking about? The Titans are always kind of boring.
I guess Derrick Henry. How many years ago was
Second
that?
round pick, yeah. I mean, I know they took Treylon Burks in the first round, but they are the opposite. Like, what's the pick that everyone's like, oh, wow, we got Jarrell Casey. I mean, I don't know what the flashy picks are for the Titans. This is the most boring. Everyone had them taking a left tackle, and they took a right tackle, but this was the most boring night of any fan base.
I'm telling you, you will have 100% approval rating till the end of time if you're a general manager who only takes offensive linemen in the first round. Everyone will love you. You cannot poke holes in that. Maybe pass rushers too.
It is. That is a team that's very hard to be excited about. I don't see anyone that's like, ooh, I cannot wait to see the Titans unfurl this attack next year.
Unfurl is always a funny word. Let's just also clear this up just for a moment. So Dustin said Kirk Cousins 4 years. Now, he is technically right about that. This was a 4-year contract. What I'm seeing on Spotrac, which is a website a lot of us use, it's a potential out after 2026. But I believe the guaranteed money is really only through the first 2 years. So if I've confused the crap out of everybody enough, this feels like it's actually a 4-year deal that's really a 2-year deal.
Essentially, it's like the Daniel Jones deal, but way more money.
A lot more money on top. And everyone loved the Daniel Jones deal.
Right.
By the way, I just want to point out, this is the third tackle Tennessee's taken in the first round this decade alone. So there are no sexy picks. This is tackle, and I'm sorry it's not working. Anyway.
Let's go to Jim's in Seattle. Good morning, Jim.
Yeah, great show. You guys are spot on. I'm in love with the Penix pick. I watched him for 2 years in Washington. The guy's a winner. He turned around a UW team, and it was second in the Heisman voting. But take a look at his stats. The guy's a baller. I was curious, and you touched on it. Cousins has got a 4-year contract, but if he plays well, can you get out of that? Can you trade him for value in the future if Penix is as good as they have when he's on the field?
So,
and then I love what Seattle did. On the defensive side, we brought McDonald in. We got a fresh start. The only pick I got to give credit to Tennessee is they did draft A.J. Brown, and then they parlayed that. They shouldn't have gotten rid of him, but they did. But that's one pick above the O-Lineman. But then I'll take your comments off air. I love the Penix pick. I think it's a great one.
Well, Jim, and you had a front row seat for it. And, you know, when Perloff is saying, the Falcons fell in love with Penix like through the draft process, you know, he wasn't a surprise. You know, he was out there. Guys like Jim are watching him every day. We all got to see him in these big high profile games. But again, if he ends up working out, the Kirk Cousins part of this will be a footnote. Now, it'll be an expensive footnote because if you did say Kirk gets hurt this year, the Achilles rehab doesn't go well, and Penix finds himself on the field and he's killing it, and you can't go back to Kirk. If you trade him pre-June 1 before the 2025 season next year, it's a $37.5 million dead cap hit. That's not nothing, especially if you're trying to win now. Right. So there will be a penalty here if they, for a bad decision or for flawed thinking or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could, one financial argument, you have Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles, you have to spend a backup quarterback. You have to pay $8 million for a Joe Flacco or something like that. This is a cheaper option to have. Even Penix is going to be one of the lower paid backup quarterbacks. He's making $5 million, I think, next year or something like that.
Well, you get a lot up front when you're a top 10 pick.
Right.
But yeah.
Basically, he's very, very reasonable for a position that they desperately need. I mean, it's either that. I saw Jacoby Brissett cost 1 year, $8 million. Like, did they want to do that? But you can't just have Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. I mean, it's definitely a risky thing. And, the Jets are going to have the same problem. Like, you want to get really excited about Aaron Rodgers, but we have no history of guys coming back this fast successfully off of Achilles.
Just quickly also, the Seattle pick, which was Byron Murphy out of Texas, which was universally given 2 thumbs way up. Everyone loves Byron Murphy.
That's the guy was high on mock drafts and fell below where they were in mock drafts, so let's give him an A, meaning we have no idea. I mean, like, you actually said this too. Like, everybody thinks, that guy was in the first round of mock drafts, therefore he fell to the second round, he must be good. And it absolutely never, ever works out that way.
855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. We'll get back to you in just a moment. Andrew Bogusch is here with more headlines. What else is going on today?
Well, let's go back to those Falcons because I don't remember how this came up a few months ago, but I couldn't name their GM, didn't even know what he looked like, but now I'll always remember Terry Fontenot as the guy that tampered with Kirk Cousins, then guaranteed him $90 million, then used last night's 8th pick on Michael Penix.
When you can add a high-caliber player like that with his intangibles, those tools, he's a winner. Very, very excited. You don't pass up that opportunity.
But again, we don't even know if he believes that because maybe this is coming from Arthur Blank, coupled with Perloff and that last caller, maybe the only 3 people on the planet who understand what the Falcons were doing last night. Either way, it was easily the biggest surprise of night 1 of the draft. Penix, one of the record-tying 6 QBs taken in the first round. Caleb Williams was the first. Bo Nix was the last to the Broncos at number 12. The round also included 7 wide receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals, Malik Neighbors to the Giants, Rome Odunze joining Caleb Williams in Chicago. But none of those 7 went to the Chargers despite their offseason departures of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Jim Harbaugh about to say a bunch of names.
Let's not bet against Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer, and Dede and Simi, and there'll be more.
I know 2.5 of those guys. At number 5.
That's not Dede Westbrook. Is that who it is?
Dede and Simi is where I check out. I've heard of Josh Palmer. I've heard of Quentin Johnson from last year's first rounds.
It's definitely not Dede Westbrook. That was a long time ago. Okay.
But I got nothing after that. Instead of a wide receiver at number 5, the Chargers went with Notre Dame tackle Joe Alt.
You're saying, what about a weapon? What about offensive linemen? We look at as weapons. That group, when we talk about attacking and what we talk about attacking on offense, offensive line is the tip of the spear.
Are they ever going to throw a pass? Is this the plan? Like you get Justin Herbert and you come in and they're going to do 32 straight handoffs like they're playing Penn State on the road? By the way, Darius Davis.
Wait, I have to look up when
it's a 4th-round pick out of 2020.
If you say so. I'll take your word for it.
Oh, Dede Westbrook's only 30. Remember that guy? Wasn't he? He was a first-round pick out of Oklahoma, wasn't he?
I think it was a Jaguar.
Yeah, he was.
Is he available?
Sorry, he fell out of the 4th round.
Oh, wait a minute, guys. Speaking of the Jags, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can I take a quick left turn here because we have so many wrestling fans on the show, including EJ and P. Pilati and all of us now. Did you see Tony Khan?
Oh, yeah.
the son of Shad Khan. Been a guest on this show. Love Tony. Friend, dare I say, personal acquaintance. I do love Tony Khan. He was wearing a neck brace in the war room, but he's not actually hurt. It's like part of the storyline.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, "Who is that guy?"
No, he's the big winner from last night. That was awesome.
To stay in character and commit. I mean, he owns the wrestling outfit.
Did anyone not love that move? I've seen nobody who's like, "That's awesome."
Well, I'll raise my hand.
You didn't like it?
So funny. So this guy wore a neck brace to the NFL draft to keep up the bit from his wrestling injury.
Every time we have Tony Khan on, we want to ask a Jaguars question, and he gets it back to wrestling. And the Jaguars just drafted
why we haven't had Tony on in a while.
For the 9th year in a row, they drafted a receiver. Like, this is going to make any difference? Who cares about the Jaguars? We got...
Well, then why don't the Steelers at one point, why weren't they pouring ketchup throughout their draft room? Why isn't Bob Kraft printing out 8,000 pieces of paper in the Patriots draft room?
He's selling an injury as part of the storyline.
He's selling a wrestling injury at the NFL draft. Is nothing sacred?
It didn't offend anybody but you, all right? Relax.
You want to know when the sacredness, the sanctity, thank you, of the NFL draft went out the window is when everyone was at home during the pandemic and they panned to Mike Vrabel's house and someone was on the toilet
that was
with
an
the door
accident.
open.
They didn't do it on purpose because they were a big toilet
You don't think that was on purpose? That person, whoever that person was on the toilet, was trying to definitely become part of the story.
The last thing the NFL preaches is class.
Remember Bill Belichick had his dog out in front of the laptop?
That was funny.
That was funny.
Or oversell it, like come out with a cane.
And wheelchair.
And maybe like some kind of not security dog, some service dog with you, like really sell that you've been like maimed by whatever wrestler did
stains
this.
on your shirt.
I would have looked like I was in traction if I did it.
Wheel you in a hospital gurney.
An iron lung like in Big Lebowski.
But here's
To be honest, yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Here's the one thing he messes up on. Is
there's one?
Yeah, he's selling the injury. Have some type of AEW paraphernalia or something that promotes it that everyone's talking about, but they never mentioned AEW. If that's the way to get over AEW, you should be able to promote it.
I feel like his dad probably held the line there.
Are we supposed to like flash all of a sudden like a website where you could start buying merch?
Wear the shirt.
Yeah, I think Goodell might have had an issue.
What I
want to
see is next time they go to the Jaguars, because now we're getting to day 2 and day 3, especially day 3, when they go back to that Jaguars war room. Have the Young Bucks come in and beat the crap out of Nick Khan. Tony Khan, of course. Tony Khan,
Nick's in the WWE.
Yeah, let the Young Bucks continue their attacks on Tony Khan and continue this bit of what's going on in the Jaguars war room. Because this would be the greatest bit in the history of the NFL draft.
All of a sudden, there's a ladder set up in the back, and two guys are trying to get to the top of it, get hit over the head with a chair.
Yeah,
Jim Ross is actually there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Have Taz announce the pick.
It beats all the C-list actors that come out during the second and third day of the draft to give the fourth round pick.
Yeah, David Akers coming out being like, "Yeah, Cowboys, you guys suck. Go Eagles. Here's our pick." We don't need all that.
Hey, Bogusch, where did you say? What would Kraft promote? I didn't hear what you said.
Paper.
Oh, paper. Oh, I thought you thought. Yeah, those are actual serious franchises. That's the difference. With the Jaguars,
thank you for making my points.
Yeah, if you're on the verge of a Super Bowl, you're not promoting AEW. We can all admit that. I loved it, but I was like, oh man, the Jaguars took Brian Thomas. I'm like, I mean, how many resources are you going to throw at Trevor Lawrence? And it's not going to work.
I was bummed. I wanted the Bills to take him. But this was Tony Khan, who's the son of Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags. They flashed in the war room last night, and he's wearing a neck brace. Like he just got rear-ended. But it's a storyline. It's a bit for AEW, the wrestling outfit that they own.
Kraft can also promote Orcas of Asia as well.
Oh, wow.
Easy.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Pete.
I was going to say,
supporting the economy.
Woody Johnson should be giving Aaron Rodgers a vaccine in the Jets war room next time they go to New York.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Wait, what? the politics of that statement are so convoluted. Knowing where Woody Johnson
why it's convoluted. This guy's on the team.
Also, meanwhile, Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show last night. He popped in for a second after the Jets took the offensive lineman from Penn State, and they said, "Man, I hope you're not going on any more podcasts." And he's like, "Nope, I've got a couple more planned."
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Buckle your seatbelts, everybody.
Just throw a damn touchdown. Let's go. Enough of this garbage.
No, we've got a couple of vaccine conspiracy theories to get through first, Pete. Hold tight.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just play the game. Come on, let's go.
Let's just play the game from the guy who just said it's okay that the number 2 dude at an NFL team was doing a wrestling bit at the draft.
That's the first time
Pick a lane, Bilotti.
That's the first time he did it. That's the first time
in the same segment.
Listen.
That's the first time he did it. We've been talking about Rodgers since about a year doing stuff that's not on the field.
Take the neck brace off and make a good pick is the same thing as shove and throw a touchdown pass.
All right. Well, they have other problems, too, the Jaguars.
Listen, people are flawed. We're all walking contradictions is what I'm trying to say.
By the way, definitely not surprised that organization got ripped off for $1 million zillion, right? Got guys in neck braces that been in the draft war room.
One of their top executives was bilking them for over $20 million to spend on private jets and FanDuel account.
What's different with this organization than every other organization? How did this guy rip off the Jaguars?
Yes, they're playing 2K and someone in their pool in the end zone, not checking the computer
Honestly,
system.
If you could rip off if there was any franchise where I'm like, where could I get hired here and bilk them for millions of dollars? The one and only answer is the Browns. They have no idea what's going on with the money.
Jets, I feel like they
Jets
might
would
not
also
notice that.
I love the idea of this dude in Jackson walking past the office going, should I steal something? And everyone's in there doing suplexes and all these wrestling things. Like, you know what? I'm going to steal things. But no one knows anything what's going on.
I love that the Jaguars want FanDuel to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that boggles my mind with the whole thing.
Oh, I don't think you were here that day, Bilotti.
Yeah.
We talked about that, and Perloff might be right. They might be on the hook for it. We went all through it.
Well, they're lucky.
Come on. You tell me FanDuel gets $20 million from a mid-level manager, they don't stop to ask a question or two?
Well, they're lucky. They're lucky.
Back to headlines.
Joel Embiid scored 50 points. His Sixers outscored the Knicks 125-114 in Philly to avoid an 0-3 hole. He also picked up a flagrant foul for grabbing the leg of a jumping Mitchell Robinson.
It was unfortunate. I mean, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. I just, in those situations, I gotta protect myself because I've been in way too many situations where, I'm always a recipient of, the bad end of it.
But again, the problem with that theory is he created the situation that he was trying to protect himself from, which was somebody falling on his leg, which is how he got hurt earlier this year. But he's safe until he makes Mitchell Robinson fall on him.
He's laying on the floor.
He should have been ejected.
Hey, I agree.
Definitely.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's no even thought. Of course he should have been ejected.
I was watching the Seahawks pick at that point.
Sure.
I don't know.
No comment.
You don't know what play you guys are referring to. So Joel Embiid was trip somebody? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Let's just say the ejection, you eject him from that in that sequence. What happens after that?
They lose.
It's pretty obvious.
They get rolled.
I mean, he was awesome. He scored 50 points on 19 shots.
Again, very helpful when you take out the guy that's been tasked to guard you for most of the game in the first half. And then you score 34 points after he leaves. I wonder why that happened.
Yeah, it was bad.
Or compared to the last 4 minutes where the Knicks went into Legion of Boom defensive back mode and the officials aren't going to call anything. So
Sorry,
everybody
Perloff. This is not your day.
Are you watching it again?
You turned it back on.
You're looking at Xavier Worthy highlights. You don't know what happened in this game. Relax.
The officials are so out of control with these non-calls. That's why Joel did it. He's like, they probably won't even call
shot
this.
21 free throws.
All right, somebody help BJ.
21 free throws. I'm not hearing it about the refs and the Knicks fouling them. I'm not hearing it today.
The Knicks. I'm saying the whole game is garbage. They could take this series and bury it at the bottom of the ocean. It is the most unaesthetically pleasing series I've ever seen.
Today we are only ranting about NFL stuff. We've got to save the basketball for another day. Bogusch, what else you got?
The Nuggets can almost see round 2, taking a 3-0 lead on the Lakers with a 112-105 win in LA. Nikola Jokic, 24 points, 15 boards, 9 assists. And the Magic hammer the Cavs in their game 3 in Orlando, 121-83, now down 2-1 in that series. Pete's Islanders can't win at home either, down 3-0 to the Hurricanes after last night's 3-2 final. The Panthers taking a 3-0 lead with a 5-3 win in Tampa Bay.
I love the Isles, but they're losers.
Mom, Dad, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. We've got so much to do. What a fun day this has been. Coming up, a team passed on a quarterback, and did they make a mistake? We'll do that next. We see you guys on the phones, too. Today is about you. How do you feel about what your team did in round 1? 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. See you guys on the phones. You want to talk about how your team did last night in the first round of the draft. Clearly, the Falcons are the team that has stolen the headlines. They shocked everybody. They took Michael Penix Jr. at 8, even though they have Kirk Cousins already on the hook for 2 years and $100 million. It was a unique move. They are really shoring up the quarterback position. Let's head to Rochester, New York. Pease is there. Good morning, Pease. How are you? Pease.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going today?
We're doing great. What's your thoughts on last night in the first round?
First round. So last night, Bills trade to who else but the Kansas City Chiefs. I think all my fellow Mafia are thinking, how can they keep getting away with this? I slept on it, woke up this morning, and now I'm thinking, okay, DeJean is still there. I think we got to take DeJean tonight. And then you never know what Brandon Beane's got up his sleeve. So I really think, drafting a receiver, it doesn't always work out. I really like T. Higgins, and if we could stick it to the Bengals, that'd just be even more sweeter.
Well, Pease, I'm with you on being upset about what the Bills did last night as a fellow member of the Bills Mafia, because I don't really care who's left on the board. I don't care, actually, even if the Bills had traded out of the pick. That's not it. You cannot hand Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes another weapon. You cannot. Not for a team that has ended your postseason as many times as the Kansas City Chiefs have ended the Bills postseason. And when Xavier Worthy is streaking across the end zone and throwing up a peace sign like Tyreek Hill did all those years ago, it's going to sting even more. And I hate to be negative like that, Perloff, but I hate it.
I thought you were more analytical. I thought you thought, in modern football terms. I thought you liked Moneyball. This is just such a fan take and not a really analytical take.
I am a fan. I'm not apologizing for that.
If I'm telling you right now, if the Cowboys called the Eagles and said, give us the house for Micah Parsons, I would do it in 2 seconds. Who cares what team they're on?
Yeah, you get the better end of that.
Well, I know. By the way, Micah, again, talking about how awesome the Eagles were last night on his little Bleacher Report thing. I just think it doesn't matter. You guys got to think about your team individually in a vacuum. It does not matter. And besides, what are we talking? They went from 32 to 28. Who honestly cares? Is this going to have any impact?
Listen, clearly the Jags wanted to trade up too. The Panthers, because they did that with the Bills also. So trade with the Panthers. Who cares about the Panthers? They're going to suck for a long time. They're in a different conference. You have to trade with the Chiefs?
Oh, I see. That's actually a pretty good point.
Thank you. I don't care if I sound like a fan today. I'm allowed to sound like a fan, and I absolutely hated that move. Let's get to Brett. He's in Arizona. He liked what his team did last night. Hey, Brett.
Hey, how you going, Maggie and Perloff?
We're doing great, man. What's on your mind?
Really excited about the direction of my Cardinals. I like what they did in free agency, shoring up the defensive line, and now they get Darius Robinson with that 27th pick, and of course Marvin Harrison. I'd like to see how that works out. I was kind of rooting for Malik Neighbors, but we'll see what happens with those two later on and at the end of the year. But pretty excited. I heard someone from Arizona calling about the Raiders. So I had to call from Arizona about my Arizona Cardinals.
I love it.
Throw it in there.
I think it's great. You should be excited. I think that we figured out, and thank you for the call, I think you figured out that, Jonathan Gannon isn't a total disaster as a head coach, because there were questions for sure. And if Kyler is healthy and on his P's and Q's, he can get the ball to Marvin Harrison. I mean, that could have the potential to be awesome. The question is the offensive line. That's where I'm a little concerned about the Arizona Cardinals, but
they like the kid they got last year.
They got Jonah Williams also. They signed him in free agency from Cincinnati.
I would say they are bottom 5 chances of ever doing anything in the end. I mean, where is this Cardinals? How are they possibly going to take the next step? Is there any chance against San Francisco in that division? And the Rams seem to be back on an upswing. I don't see the hope. I like the Cardinals, but they have to be. They're like the fourth lowest team in NFL odds. It feels tough. I feel a little bad for Marvin.
Oh, come on. Maserati Marv, he'll turn around anything. They call him the next Larry Fitzgerald. I'm like, who are you going to compare him to? His dad or Larry Fitzgerald? We got to pick one.
That's a great analogy. Because Larry lost most seasons because
made it to a Super Bowl.
I think this is a tough. I'll tell you right now, I keep saying this. I think the second round receivers are going to outproduce the first rounds just because those are flawed spots. Arizona is not where you want to go.
Malik Neighbors also lands with the New York Giants.
Oh, God, that's even worse.
Well, this was, a very split, I know, with the Giants fan base. I know a lot of people wanted them to take a quarterback because Daniel Jones is not good and injury prone. But they do need an exciting wide receiver, something they haven't had since Odell Beckham. So what they do, they take another receiver from LSU. Listen, I'm not a huge McCarthy fan, but I would have gone quarterback here. I love Neighbors, but I do not trust Daniel Jones. And with Drew Lock behind him and Tommy Cutlets, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, here's the question. Who's throwing to Neighbors next year? Who's coaching Neighbors next year? So I think long-term that might be a good move. But again, he's no way he's going to win Rookie of the Year with Daniel Jones throwing to him. It seems impossible.
It does, but again, he's going to get a ton of targets. Because you're splitting them with Jalen Hyatt, basically, and that's kind of it.
How many they're going to be in the bottom 5 for pass attempts? I mean, Daniel Jones.
You always are with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, he threw 15 touchdowns in his big contract year. I think these guys have landed in the wrong spot. And Rome Odunze, who's the next pick, he's got to share with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. It's going to be tough.
See you guys on the phones. We want to hear from you today. It's about you. It's about what your team did in the first round of the draft. 855-212-4227. We also get the thoughts of former general manager Michael Lombardi, set to join us next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Maggie and Perloff.
The Atlanta Falcons steal the headlines in round one. Perloff, they shockingly decide to go with Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th pick, even though about 6 weeks ago they promised $100 million guaranteed to Kirk Cousins. We talk about how important the quarterback position is in the NFL. The Falcons are really putting their money where their mouth is.
Maggie, I can't believe you think the Atlanta Falcons don't know what they're doing. I'm shocked at this.
We will figure out the meaning of life before we figure out the Falcons draft strategy, but we need the thoughts of an expert, and that is Michael Lombardi, of course, former general manager, now does a great job on the GM Shuffle podcast, is writing books about how to build NFL teams. He's the first person we go to when we have questions about team building. Michael, thanks so much for waking up early for us today. How are you?
Oh, it's my pleasure. No problem. I mean, we're going to send a bunch of MIT students to figure out the Super Bowl winning GM Terry Fontenot and Kaiser Sose McKay and figure out their strategy here because, you know, when the winningest coach in NFL history, 6 Super Bowls, and second on the all-time win list, doesn't make your top 3 in your interview process, you know you're a class above everybody else. You've got to know that.
Dripping with sarcasm, Michael. We understand it because, well, I said this is the brilliant move from the Falcons front office if you want to keep your job. You got the quarterback for now, which is Cousins, and then you got the quarterback for the future, which is Penix. But seriously, do you see any strategy behind this move? Is this actually a good idea if Penix is that good and you're that convinced? Do you just take him and figure out the Kirk Cousins part next year?
Well, this is, to me, like somebody who has one Rolex and then decides with very little money in their bank account to buy another Rolex. How many can you wear, right? How many? You're going to wear 2 a day? You're going to change? Look, this is not about Michael Penix because I like Michael Penix. This is about the second year in a row the Falcons have used the 8th pick overall in the draft to buy a luxury item. Look, no one's going to argue Bijan Robinson's not a good player. Although no one's going to also mention to you and to the general public that Algier had a better rushing season the year before than Robinson did last year. And so they double up on the running back when they had Algier, who was a 1,000-yard rusher and averaged over 5 yards a carry. And then this year they come back after giving $90 million guaranteed on a 3-year contract that they're no escaping. And let's not forget this. I don't know if they mentioned it on any of the Worldwide Leader programming last night, but Cousins has a no-trade clause in his contract. So it's not like you can sit there and say, oh, let's go do this and let's go do that. You know, the fact is they signed a quarterback with an Achilles coming off an Achilles. They gave him $90 million. If they were unsure whether he could play or not, then why did you give him the $90 million? And look, I think there's no doubt that, you know, this doesn't save anybody's job because the expectations on the Falcons, since they blatantly rejected Belichick and then had that article with Seth Wickersham sticking their chest out on how proud they were, I think it puts a lot of pressure on them. Because if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you got to be asking yourself the question, what are we doing? Now, here's what I do know. I think the Falcons, under the direction of Super Bowl winning GM Terry Fontenot, 21 wins in 3 seasons, I truly believe that they think their team's way better than it is. I think they just think they're a quarterback away. And that's a complete miscalculation. The hardest position to find in pro football, the hardest one besides quarterback, is a 3 technique. A 3 technique that can rush the passer, a 3 technique that's disruptive inside, a 3 technique that the offense has to turn the protection towards. And in 2 years in a row, the brilliance of the Falcons have passed one. One that was 40 miles away at Georgia, Jalen Carter, and the other one, Murphy at Texas, who was, just sitting there waiting for them to take him.
In this kind of situation, with your past experience, like how much sign-off do you need from the owner? Is Arthur Blank ultimately responsible for this, or is it the people in his ear?
Great question, Andrew. See, this is the job of an owner. Okay, this is really the job of an owner. John York sat in the draft room and said to Kyle Shanahan, and did exactly what great owners do. They said, if you like Purdy this much, why are you debating picking him in the 7th round? They asked that question. The job of an owner is not to tell you what to do. The job of the owner is to challenge what you do. So, I would have loved to have been in the meeting when the winning GM Terry Fontenot comes in and says, I want to draft Michael Penix. And then he says, well, we just gave $90 million to Kirk Cousins. Explain to me how this is going to work. Explain to me when he's going to play without an injury. Explain to me how you visualize the future of the franchise. There's really no answer on that. There really is no answer. Well, we're protected. That's the only answer. See, this is where great owners ask great questions. That's the job of the owner. The job of the owner is to challenge the people in charge. Donnie Walsh told me that back in the early 90s when I spent time with him when he was at the Indiana Pacers. He had complete control over the Pacer organization, but he had to tell the Simon brothers what he was going to do. And through those conversations with telling him what he wanted to do, he found out his own answer. And this is where Arthur Blank is just being led blindly. Now, let's not confuse that Kaiser Sose McKay's not involved, because even though he says he's not, he's been involved his entire life. And they're 169 and 170 over his reign of running the Falcons. And so he obviously had to know that this was going on.
Michael Lombardi is joining us, of course, former GM Shuffle podcast, does with Femi Abebefe, who we love, also the Daily Coach, got a book out, Football Done Right, waking up early with us here to recap the first round of the NFL Draft. Michael, in your opinion, which quarterback of the 6 that were taken in the top 12 picks, which one landed in the best spot?
I think here's where I think we really have a problem with the draft, okay? And again, my critique of Atlanta is about the function and team building. It's not about Michael Penix. You know, people get so enamored with their own evaluation. Sean Payton really knows what he's doing at quarterback. Okay, when he was in Dallas, he wanted to draft Tony Romo. They got him as a free agent. He wanted Patrick Mahomes at the 11th pick of the draft, and the Chiefs came up and got him at 10. I mean, the guy knows he took Drew Brees and made Drew Brees better than. See, people forget Drew Brees when he was in San Diego. You know, he got benched for Doug Flutie, you know, and then he had the great year, and then he hurt his shoulder. John Lynch tackled him and hurt his shoulder, and the next thing you know, he was a free agent. So, like, Peyton knows a quarterback. He understands what he wants. He understands what fits his system. There's nobody who's giving out grades today that really understands Sean Payton's system of offense and what he's asking the quarterback to do. So all those grades are irrelevant, right? They're irrelevant. Do I think, but would I have taken Bo Nix as a general manager alone? No. But if I was sitting next to Sean Payton and he was telling me, well, I know what he wants and what he thinks, then certainly that's appealing because he's going to develop the quarterback. Remember, this is not about where they get picked. This is about how they play. And so I think we get way too critical because everybody grades off of their grading sheet. Everybody grades off of their evaluation. What makes their evaluation right and the team's wrong, you know? So I think you have to give it time. Look, I think Drake Maye is going to be a project. I really do. I think Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator in New England, is going to have his work cut out for him because he's raw. He's not going to play next year, right? I think Cliff Kingsbury's got his work cut out for him to get Jaden Daniels to throw the ball in the middle of the field. Jaden Daniels is really good at running with the football. He never makes a second play. The only player other than Caleb Williams in this draft that was extend plays and make plays was Bo Nix, if you watch the tape honestly. But people have their minds made up, right? That's why everybody said there's no way there's going to be 6 quarterbacks picked in the draft, because they had their minds made up, because they've been reading all these stupid mock drafts that have no really understanding of what goes on in the NFL.
Michael, so Bill Belichick got a lot of praise last night for TV. I think Maggie was a big fan of his honest.
Shocking. Yeah. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, you know, let's face it. The guy's a dinosaur. He probably was talking about Pop Warner.
Yeah. Well, not top 3 candidates in Atlanta. That says it all. But
we know that.
What if he's so good at this at TV that he actually doesn't want to go back to coaching? Because I've seen before, and I've heard you say that he might be interested in coming back. It seems like he's a hit.
Well, I think, look, his football knowledge is second to nobody. Now, it's not second to Kaiser Sose McKay or Super Bowl winning GM Fontenot. We know that. Can you imagine that those two interviewed him? It would be like me going to Harvard and starting to interview doctors. Like, seriously. You know? But I think he's, you know, his knowledge is better than anybody. Look, I've been around some great people, great coaches. I've been privileged and honored to serve by some of the greatest of the greats. And I say this really humbly, and everything that I've written in every book that I've written, I haven't really learned. I haven't developed myself. And there's no one equal to Belichick. You can ask any NFL coach. You know, it's just like the stupid Dynasty infomercial that the Crafts produced on Apple. I mean, that's an infomercial, you know, and they try to discredit a man that basically, you know, won 6 Super Bowls for them. You know, in the 3 Super Bowl winnings, they beat 3 teams that scored over 500 points. Was Robert Kraft developing that defense? I don't know. I'm confused. I didn't know that. So I think, to me, there's been this perception of Bill that is really unfair because he can't win without Brady, and that manifests itself going forward. When Don Shula went 4 years with the great Dan Marino and didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, what I loved about Belichick last night with him on McAfee is we actually got some honest analysis of these players, and he was using film to back it up. So it's not just here's all their top 10 best throws. This guy's going to be the next, Peyton Manning. It was here's the bad throws. Here's what you're talking about when you're saying, hey, you're not going to get any more open than this in the NFL, or here's where you could have done something better. You got a little insight of what it was probably like on a Monday morning walking into the facility in New England, but it added a lot of credibility to it. We're talking with Michael Lombardi, like Belichick needs more credibility, but we're talking with Michael Lombardi, former GM, worked with Belichick, and you worked with Al Davis too, Michael, for a long time. And I don't know if Al Davis was into trading with his rivals. It feels like that's something that Davis wouldn't do. I'm a Bills fan. I'm incensed that they trade with the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the first round and handed Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes a weapon like Xavier Worthy out of Texas. Do I have a right to be upset today?
Well, you're right, Maggie. He would never do that. There was an unwritten rule, not an unwritten rule. There was a written rule. We would never trade with any AFC East, a West opponent, and we would never trade with anybody on our schedule. But what I think this demonstrates to you is that Buffalo didn't think Worthy was a good enough player to fit to be their third receiver. I think that's what it clearly screams to you that they were more than willing. They knew the Chiefs were coming up to get Worthy. They knew that. They just didn't feel like he was the right fit. And I think there's so much pressure on Buffalo this year, really. I mean, Buffalo took a tremendous amount of hits in their offseason program in terms of the free agency they've lost. And, they're going to be a 12-team, one back, two tight ends because of Kincaid and because of Dawson Knox. But to me, they clearly told you their evaluation of Worthy wasn't a first-round pick. They didn't mind going to him. Al would have never done that. And speaking of Al would have never, ever, 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 ever. I love when the Raiders say the Raider way, the Raider way, the Raider way. Okay? This is the biggest comedy of all time. They preach about it all the time. No, the Raider way. They took a tight end in the first round over a defensive tackle, Brian Murphy, the 3 technique. Yep. There's no chance, there is zero chance that Al Davis would have passed a defensive lineman, whether it would have been Latua or whether it would have been Murphy, to take a tight end who would be the second tight end who's going to be an F, and they have no offensive lineman who can block.
Unbelievable. And what are they doing at quarterback? Are they settled there?
Well, they signed Gardner Minshew. I mean, I think obviously, and Antonio Pierce said he's earned the right to be the starter. I don't know if Antonio was at the game where they didn't score any points against Minnesota. I'm not sure if he was there, but I don't know how you earn the right to be the starter when you can't make a play in a passing game.
I want to ask about 2 teams. The defensive players fell. The Eagles got their cornerback, and the Lions got a cornerback. Feels like that I don't know if the word lucky is right, but it feels like they did very well.
I think the Eagles did really good. I mean, I was promoting for the Eagles to trade up to get Mitchell. Mitchell was the best cover corner in the draft. And Howie gets him at 22. Didn't have to give up an asset to get him. I think it's a great pick. I wasn't in love with Arnold as much because here's why. I think some of the things you have to do when you watch tape is you've got to break down what the team is doing, right? And so Nick Saban loves to play man-to-man. He's a huge man-to-man guy. Well, this year in Alabama, he played less man-to-man than he's ever played in his life, which tells you he didn't believe he had corners to play man-to-man. And so that made me always a little bit worried about Arnold. Is he really a top man-to-man corner? But I think in the Detroit scheme, the way they play, I think he can certainly function, and I think it's a good pick for Detroit to get him. I'm not saying he's going to be a shutdown corner, especially where they picked him down at 28. So, but there's no question that I think those teams, look, I think Seattle hit a home run. I think the Colts hit a home run. The Bears, how many more receivers do you need? You're paying Keenan Allen. You're paying DJ Moore. And now you draft a Dunze. How many plays can a Dunze play next year? Unless you're committed to being an 11 personnel team the whole time. See, no one asked that question. How many plays will this player play? Michael Penix will play 0. So you're getting nothing out of him. How many plays will a Dunze play? How many plays will Brock Bowers play in 12 personnel if Michael Myers is going to be playing on the line? See, you got to get some production. Whereas We know Latua, if he's healthy, he's going to play 1,200 plays next year. We know if Byron Murphy's going to play 1,200 plays next year, and they're going to be really good plays. They're going to be players that impact. Mitchell's going to play a ton of plays for the Eagles, and he's going to be a 4-down player because he's going to play in the kicking game. So that's how you have to look at it. And I think some of these teams that, we've gotten caught up in Twitter with the great, Dan Orlovsky goes on TV and starts talking about there's only been 3 misses in the first round since 2018 at wide receiver, and then all of a sudden he starts leveling off. Well, Henry Ruggs was a problem. Well, has he ever gone and talked to an owner about when the guy gets basically run out of football because of his off-the-field character? That's not a fun conversation to have, trust me, I can promise you. So, drafting receivers is a 27% success rate in the National Football League. And you do that when you have a huge glaring need at 3 technique for the Bears. Look, I think they had a chance to really improve their defense, because if you have a rookie quarterback, you better have a really good defense. And what's so shocking is we just witnessed the Kansas City Chiefs trade away Tyreek Hill and build their defense and win a Super Bowl because of their defense, and yet everybody's now back on the wide receiver train.
Real quick, I know you're watching the draft. How do I, as a Sixers fan, defend Joel Embiid grabbing a guy in the lower body? Because I'm getting killed here.
Not defensible. Should have been ejected.
Hey, look, I'm a Sixer fan. You're talking to me.
I know. I thought you would have a better excuse here that I can't come up with anything. I know you're a diehard.
For me, Embiid gets no excuse. Until he gets in shape, until he gets in conditioning shape, I think the guy's incredibly talented. But he's the only MVP in the history of the National Basketball Association that has won the MVP and hasn't gotten past the second round. So, I don't really want to hear that. I can't make an excuse for him. It's going to be interesting if he gets suspended. He should get suspended for what that act was. And with Robinson getting hurt last night, that really hurt them. And so look, to me, as a Sixer fan, the process was a joke. It was frustrating. What I admire is Sam Presti and what he did in Oklahoma, because that's truly what the process is. Because what we learned last night in the NFL, and we learned it in basketball, it takes talent to evaluate talent.
Love it.
Michael, thank you so much. Getting up early for us again. Michael Lombardi, you can listen to him on the GM Shuffle Pod. We're huge fans. Of course, the Daily Coach. He's got the book Football Done Right, and, of course, former GM and multiple Super Bowl rings. So thank you, Michael, for your expertise.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You got a lot there. And I love Michael not pulling any punches with the Atlanta Falcons and what they've done and taking Michael Penix. And this is the big headline from day one of the draft. But, of course, we've got much more to get into, including we want to hear from you. 32 teams, 32 fan bases. How did you feel about what your team did last night? You already heard me rant and raving about the Bills. Perloff sitting pretty with his Eagles. We want to hear about you and your team. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I thought this was an interesting one from Adam Schefter this morning, Perloff, about the 49ers. So yesterday, before the draft started, there was a rumor or news started to leak out that the Patriots were trying hard to trade for Brandon Ayiuk. Ended up not being true. Patriots take Drake May third, and that was all we heard from the Patriots last night. But obviously we know that Ayiuk and now we know that Deebo Samuel are both potentially on the trade block, so we'll see what happens today. Here's Adam Schefter. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayiuk texted GM John Lynch and head coach Kyle Shanahan moments after they selected his former Arizona teammate Ricky Pearsall with their first-round pick Thursday. The message was, fire pick, can't lie. So he understands that basically his replacement was just drafted, and I know he wants to get paid, obviously. I thought that was a funny sort of exchange after all the rumors yesterday.
Yeah, it's funny. So Mike Silver, who, was a SI with me, actually, I don't know if he was there with you anyway, he knows that the 49ers better than anyone. He said, look for Deebo to get traded today, not Ayiuk. So maybe they flip them. And then Deebo's gone, who's already under contract. They keep Ayiuk, re-sign Ayiuk, and have Pearsall as number 2. But it does make sense. You can't have Ayiuk, Deebo, and Pearsall. That's a lot of resources into wide receiver. Then you have George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. It's just a weirdly built team. So it seems like one of them will be on the way out. But Ricky Pearsall, I was surprised. I thought it was Lad McConkey. Whatever. Who knows who's going to be better. But this is pretty cool because I think the Niners, they are just going to keep on churning out offense here. This is exciting.
Listen, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, but they still have to also keep a little powder dry, so to speak, for Brock Purdy, who's probably going to get paid after next year. So Deebo Samuel, I mean, if you're going to be trading him, it's probably a little less in terms of return because...
Ooh, I don't know, but you don't have to pay him, though.
Well, so he's got technically, I think in terms of guaranteed money, he's got one more year left. So there's a potential out after 2024 where you only escape with a $15 million dead cap hit. That's not nothing, but there's still some money left on this contract, but the cap hit is like $28.6 million this year. Yeah, and he did sign the $41 million guaranteed. A lot of that was the signing bonus. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Ayiuk wasn't good enough to get a first-round pick. We know that.
Yes.
So what are we talking about here? A future first? Are we talking about a second? I think maybe those guys go for a high second-round pick, which is pretty valuable too. We'll see.
Without a doubt. We're asking you to weigh in today. It's about you. 32 fan bases, 32 million opinions about what happened last night, but we want to hear what you think. Mike's in Alabama wants to talk about the Falcons, who shocked everyone by taking Michael Penix Jr. at 8. Hey, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Wonderful. Hey, yeah, I've heard for the last month that with the acquisitions that the Falcons have received over the last month, that this offense is really scary. And having all that said, I was thinking, okay, now let's shore up the defense and, we can make a run for the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, Michael Penix Jr. comes up, and I'm like, wow, okay, all right. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. It's confusing to me. But it's kind of reminiscent of another quarterback. You got a left-handed quarterback with a cannon for an arm who is a mobile quarterback, can escape pressure. Don't that kind of sound like Michael Vick? I'll talk to you guys later.
Well, Mike, he's not Vick. He doesn't have the running ability of Vick or even close to it, but he is lefty and he does have the big arm.
I know. Michael Vick threw no touchdowns in college. Actually, they really have nothing in common. Other than the fact, he's nothing like Jaden Daniels, by the way, came out and said, I want to be the greatest running quarterback in the sports history, even better than Michael Vick. Now, that comparison I totally get, but not Michael Penix.
I just want to underscore Michael Penix in terms of rushing. He had 35 rushing attempts. Is this true for 8 yards?
Yeah, if you count sacks count against your rushing.
Oh, right, of course.
But
and the year before that, 35 attempts for 92 yards. He's not a runner.
But that being said, Justin Fields didn't run at all at Ohio State. Then he came out and almost set the rookie record for running. I'm actually hopeful. I'm drafting. If Michael Penix was going to get on the field, I was totally going to draft him in fantasy because he is going to run. Unfortunately, he probably won't play.
He's not going to play because Kirk Cousins, if he's healthy, he's playing. Because Kirk was given $100 million, basically. And as Michael Lombardi, who just joined us in the last segment, also said what's flawed about what the Falcons did here is Cousins has a no-trade clause. So even if you want to say, hey, if Penix gets on the field, he looks great, he develops, we can just flip Kirk for something else. Well, now it's got to be wherever Kirk wants to go.
Absolutely. Can I give you a stat that'll blow your mind?
Yeah.
Guess how many touchdowns Michael Vick threw his final year at Virginia Tech?
I mean, it was a different era, but okay.
He had 8 touchdowns and 6 picks.
That's not right.
Yeah.
How many rushing touchdowns?
Oh, 1,000.
Yeah.
The year before that, he had 12 touchdowns and 5 picks. Let's see. He ran for, actually, unless I'm reading this wrong, not that many yards, 617 and 585 the season before. It's amazing that he was such a surefire number 1 pick. Totally different era.
Well, I mean, eye test. John is in Boise. Good morning, John.
Hey, guys. So I'm a Packers fan, right?
Yeah.
And first off, I would have loved to see us pick Cooper DeJean, and bolster up our defense based on what the Lions and the Bears are doing. But if we're going to pick a left tackle, I would have much rather than pick Tyler Guyton over Jordan Morgan, because they're talking about putting Morgan in, switching him to guard. And as a Packer fan, I think Rasheed Wallace has done pretty good overall at the left tackle spot.
Okay. I got to think about
Maggie,
this for a second.
break down the line. I want to hear. Come on, Maggie.
Wait.
Let's get in there. Let's dig in there. Talk
Rasheed
about
Wallace is a better Piston.
That's what got me. Wait, is Rasheed Walker for a second? John, no. And listen, we all know every offensive lineman. When he said Rasheed Wallace, I was like, wait a minute. What? It's Rasheed Walker. Listen, close enough. It's fine.
I wouldn't have known Walker either.
The Pistons team.
I would say 70% of NFL assistant coaches don't know what's going on the offensive line. We sure don't.
Well, it's funny because a long time ago, and I'm not trying to give anyone any ideas, but I did get a call that was trolling, asking about all these fake names on the offensive line, and it was meant to embarrass my co-host at the time, but we sniffed it out immediately, and so I was wondering, I'm like, am I getting trolled again? Like the last time I saw Rasheed Wallace he was cursing about Tobias Harris in a video that went viral online. But here, let's answer the question seriously, because you made the call, John. We appreciate that. I honestly can't tell you that I know one guy is actually going to be any better than the other guy, but I understand using a first-round pick sometimes on guards. Centers and tackles, you get a little bit more excited about. Guards sometimes can be a little underwhelming for a first-round pick.
Yeah. Good
there
job.
You go.
Good job.
Like from our
that was just a waste of 30 seconds, by the way.
I just tried to give him a little something.
Why are you trying to give him something? Just admit. You're the one who famously said, O-line, just get up there and push guys around. Just stick with that, man.
I did that. I said that, and I got death threats for it, so I'm never going to say that again.
But it is weird, though. Every time they break down an offensive lineman, especially felt like last night, they're like, well, he played right tackle. Maybe he'll play left, or we'll go inside. Like, it's just like, if you had a wide receiver, like, well, I think he's a wide receiver, but if not,
wait. You're saying one wide receiver, he lines up on the left, so he can't line up on the right? You can move an offensive lineman around easily.
All 5 offensive line positions are different positions.
Barely.
No, but there is still a differential.
Some guys can Maggie Gray, you just get up there and push the other guy around.
I said that in jest.
Some guys are right tackles, some guys are left tackles. Some guys can't snap the ball, some guys can. They're not all interchangeable.
There's a reason why usually in terms of book smarts, the smartest guys on the team are usually on the offensive line.
Yeah, but I think there's a trend that you can move guys around. I'm being totally serious.
I'll be honest.
Clearly it's happening. It's just odd that when there are guys in the first round, like, I want you to tell me that he's a left tackle. Don't tell me he's a left tackle, but maybe he'll have to play right tackle because that position is a little less valuable than left tackle.
I don't. There is no difference between left tackle and right tackle.
I mean,
I think there's a preference. I think that guys have a preference. But here's the thing, right? When your team, say you're rooting for a team and the offensive line is having one of those years where it's just injury after injury, and you here's our swing tackle, it's just like,
no, you never want to hear that.
Oh no, this is not. Things are going wrong.
You're telling me that the Chargers made a mistake taking Joe Alt because he played left tackle at Notre Dame and he's going to play right tackle in LA? Of course not.
I think taking a left tackle at number 5 makes a little bit more sense than taking a right tackle at number 5.
Well, he's playing right tackle.
I know.
But I think there's a difference though with Joe Alt. Typically, left tackles are better. So him going to the right side is like, okay, well, this guy is we have a good left tackle. He can play the right side, just like we saw with Penix. They already had left tackle and Decker, so they moved him over. But he was an elite prospect. The guys that are right tackles, they were saying, hey, let's put him on the left side, where typically that's the blind side, a better pass rusher. That's a little more worrisome. Or saying, hey, we'll just throw him on any side and see if he's good.
Or throw him inside to guard where he can be fatter and slower. Like, that's not helpful either.
Move their pass rushers over to the other side, too. So the right tackles become way more important because the Von Millers are coming off the other side now. Or they move Micah around to get him on the right tackle. And also, there's lefty quarterbacks abounding. I totally don't agree with you guys, but maybe I'm wrong.
Let's get to the headlines. Bogusch is here. He's got all the latest. What's up?
If you had over 4.5 QBs taken last night, you hit pretty quickly with number 5 coming on the 10th pick when the Vikings traded up for J.J. McCarthy, and then the Broncos tacked on Bo Nix for good measure at number 12. If you had the under, enjoy your Pete drills. Before the Falcons went heel and took Michael Penix 8th, our focus was on J.J. McCarthy, who would take him and who would be trading up to do it. As you just heard, it was the Vikings. Once McCarthy passed number 6, they pounced, swapping spots with the Jets to make him their selection. And here's his new head coach, Kevin O'Connell.
Hopefully, as excited as our fans are, they can know that J.J. McCarthy really wanted to be a Minnesota Viking, and he cannot wait to get here and get to work.
The Vikings made a second move last night to get Alabama edge rusher Dallas Turner at number 17, while the Bears stayed put at number 9 and added Washington wideout Rome Odunze to Caleb Williams, their GM Ryan Poles.
If you told me we would end up with both Caleb and Rome weeks ago, I would have said you were crazy. But there were two guys that obviously we were really excited to have.
Those two picks, part of a record-setting 14 consecutive offensive players taken to start round 1. 23 offensive picks is also a first-round record.
Wait, did you guys agree? Michael Lombardi just joined us earlier in the hour. He said this was the Rome Odunze pick was, I think he basically was saying it's redundant. Like, how many wide receivers do you need?
He would use the word luxury. Yeah. I totally agree. I think all 3 first-round top 10 wide receiver picks landed in the wrong spots.
Really?
Oh, my God. There's no way. How is Rome Odunze going to get numbers? Malik Neighbors has Daniel Jones throwing to him, and Marvin Harrison's stuck in this weird situation in Arizona with everything going on there. I guarantee there are going to be other receivers who make. I mean, look at last year. Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick and almost set the record for rookie yards. Maggie, you are going to get a star receiver for the Bills.
Wait.
There's going to be 8 second-round wide receivers, and they're going to outproduce these first-round
Can
guys.
I just disagree with you a little bit on every single one?
Yeah.
I mean, Marvin Harrison, if Kyler Murray is healthy, you are going to be able to get him the ball. He changes their offense and makes them way more relevant. If Daniel Jones is healthy, Malik Neighbors is going to put up big numbers because he's going to be the only person that he's throwing to. And Rome Odunze, this is exactly what teams and fans want when they say don't put a rookie quarterback in a position where they're going to, fail. You've got Keenan Allen, but he's an older wide receiver. So why wouldn't you let him, learn for a year basically, and then he takes over?
Well, I think Rome Odunze is ready to go. I'm just saying he's not going to have big numbers this year.
Well, but that's only 1 year. I feel like you can't get caught up in what do your numbers look like year one on a rookie receiver.
The Cardinals, you're so confident in this Cardinals thing. The head coach is Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
Anyone without looking it up, name their offensive coordinator. Drew Petzing.
Right.
That's
where he
what
landed.
Are you talking about? Who's Drew Petzing? I mean, this is a tough. The Cardinals have a lot of history. It does feel like he's going to be Larry Fitzgerald. They'll never have a good system around him. Maybe he's that good, but it does feel listen. If you look at all the top receivers, most of them were not top picks. They were all Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. Go down the list. You get guys later. I'm telling you, and I always
Why
say
do you
this,
keep brushing past Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in this conversation?
because I looked at it. Of the top 15 receivers, 11 were taken after the top 20 picks.
Top 15 in what? Receiving yards last year?
Yeah, receiving yards. They're all late round guys. That's where you get them.
But Marvin Harrison Jr. is the problem with the Cardinals or being the 4th pick?
He went to the wrong place.
Okay, but he should have been picked where he was.
No, he's
numbers-wise.
awesome.
Right.
But he's not going to.
It's a team that can't maximize him,
Yeah, I think if you're a Marvin Harrison Jr. fan, that's the last place you want him to go.
Okay,
right?
but that's a different argument than saying don't take a wide receiver in the first round. You're saying it's a bad spot for him, not don't use your 4th pick on a wide receiver.
I don't think they should have taken him there. I think they should have traded out and filled everything else.
I think they were trying, but I think it was the J.J. McCarthy market. Once people realized somehow that the Giants were not taking J.J. McCarthy, everything changed.
Yeah.
What else you got, Bogusch? I'm sorry, Perloff, were you about to say something?
Let me just give you top 5 receivers. Tyreek Hill, 5th round. CeeDee Lamb, 18. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round. Puka Nacua, 5th round. A.J. Brown, 2nd round.
Then you get DJ Moore, Ayiuk, 1st round picks. Mike Evans, 9.
Where did Nico Collins go? What round was he, buddy?
1st round pick.
I knew you had that. Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman, Devontae Adams, George Pickens.
About half of those guys are 1st round picks.
Yeah.
And some of them dropped for different reasons.
Wait, who?
Like Tyreek Hill was a...
CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Ayiuk, Evans, Cooper.
Right. And Justin
Chase.
Jefferson was hurt, and Jamar Chase didn't have Joe Burrow.
Right.
So those 2 guys would be further up the list.
Right.
Just saying, there are a lot of stars in the 2nd round.
I agree that the Cardinals could have used a different player at 4, but Marvin Harrison Jr. deserved to be the 4th pick in that draft last
It's a new
night.
running back position. You just don't draft wide receivers high.
The day that A.J. Brown was traded, he's like, why would they do that? It's the new running back. And meanwhile, the Eagles just doubled down and gave A.J. Brown basically, he's the mayor of Philly now.
Second round pick.
He was a part of
He's
West
getting
Philly
paid.
now.
He's getting paid like he's one of the top players in the NFL, period. What else we got?
Let's stay in Philadelphia. Knicks and Sixers last night, and Joel Embiid's takedown of Mitchell Robinson. Apparently, Sixers head coach Nick Nurse doesn't know what we're talking about.
Sorry, I didn't see it. So
no.
Get some new glasses for
No,
eyes.
he didn't. He said he didn't see it. No,
Well, with the big smirk on his face too.
Okay,
This is the thing, right? I didn't see it.
Got it,
coach.
Okay. Well, they didn't see you calling timeout, so I guess we're all even.
Embiid given a flagrant 1 in the first quarter after review for grabbing Robinson's leg as he jumped for a lay-in. Robinson fell, re-injured his left ankle, did not return after halftime. Embiid went on to score 50 on just 19 shots. Yes, Pete?
Sorry. I like to think that they think the equivalent of the bad calls that were made in Game 2 is basically taking out a player in Game 3. That's what basically Nick Nurse is saying. So enough of Nick Nurse and enough of the Sixers and enough of all this nonsense that happened in Game 3. And let's move on to Game 4, where it'll be a 3-1 lead.
Well, good question there from Michael Lombardi. Flaming hot takes there from Pete about whether Embiid's going to get suspended for the next game. I think
zero chance.
Oh, they need to.
He should.
Should have been ejected.
Yeah, he should.
Did
They
Draymond
won't, but he
Green,
should.
when Draymond stepped on Sabonis, I know it's a little bit different, but it was like someone, well, it was actually totally different. But anyway, Draymond got suspended.
And I bet they're like the NFL where they have like a table of what your fines can be. So even if they were to fine him, it's probably going to be $7, not like anything that looks like an actual punishment.
Yeah, it's going to be a joke. It's going to be a joke.
Yeah, like the NHL is good on that. It's like he's got fined $5,000, the most allowed by the CBA for gouging out an eye with a stick.
You know what's funny about the NHL though? Isn't it right that if a guy misses games, you injure him, like you have to then take some of those games that he would have missed? Or
no, that's not. They thought about that when they had a string of like stick assaults,
like an eye for an eye kind of thing.
Yeah, and that there's no way, because then you have got teams who are like, oh, well, just if it's an uneven trade, like okay, we'll keep our fourth line guy out because your first line guy hurt him.
I just think it's crazy that Mitchell Robinson may miss games now.
Yeah.
Because of this goon.
Should have been ejected for sure. What else we got?
So the Sixers they win that game 125-114, now down 2-1 in that series until, again, apparently they lose Game 4 and fall behind 3-1. The Magic got their first win against the Cavs, 121-82 in Game 3 in Orlando, but the Lakers are in an 0-3 hole, losing at home to the Nuggets, 112-105. Denver can sweep LA for the second straight postseason this weekend. The Hurricanes are now 8-1 in the Islanders' new building thanks to last night's 3-2 final, and the Panthers won in Tampa Bay 5-3. Carolina and Florida have 3-0 leads. The A's held off the Yankees 3-1 in the only night game yesterday. They split 4 in the Bronx. And Seton Hall star guard Kadari Richmond is now in the transfer portal. He's probably the best player available currently, and he's being linked already to St. John's. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we do our winners and losers from last night. Perloff and I have got our list ready, and we want to hear from you. Still time, 855-212-4227. What did you think of your team's first-round strategy? Who they picked, who they didn't pick? You're welcome to weigh in. It's Maggie and Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Well, it was the Falcons who had the surprise of the draft last night. They took Michael Penix Jr. 8, even though they've already committed $100 million to Kirk Cousins. Here's more from Diana Rossini reporting this morning. Michael Penix Jr. did not take a top 30 visit to Flowery Branch, so to the Falcons. The Falcons only attended a 45-minute workout and met with him at the Combine, and that's usually, 15 minutes, those Combine interviews. She goes on to say it's almost unheard of for a quarterback taken in the first round to not be on a team's top 30. In the end, Atlanta felt comfortable with the work they did.
Yeah, I think they're hiding him. Because if everyone knew that Atlanta was taking him at 8, I don't know how people did know that, like Schefter and Rappaport, the insiders. If they knew, then clearly it seems like the Raiders might have jumped them. Because what are the Raiders doing? If Michael Penix, doesn't he look like he should be a Raiders quarterback?
Definitely. I mean,
I don't know why. I feel like big arm, lefty, just feels like a Raider.
This is one of the 3 bets I lost last night. All 3 bets I made, I lost all of them. I made a bet for you because you can't bet in New York, and I can bet in New Jersey. Your bet also lost. So an offer across the board on the bets, and one of them was Michael Penix going to the Raiders. That was an exact. Lost out on that one. Lost out. I thought Bo Nix would not be drafted in the first round. Lost on that one, and I thought J.C. Latham would be drafted by the Chargers, and instead they went with Joe Alt, the other offensive lineman.
Oh, that one felt like a coin flip. Like that could have gone either way.
That's my $3 down the drain.
Oh well.
And your emotional hedge bet lost too with the quarterback.
But we all should be excited about that loss because that means E.J. Stewart is running gassers with Pete Bellotti holding the whistle.
Well, and he's gonna be doing some of Pete's middle school football workout drills.
Get him up.
Oh man, it will be quick. EJ will be fast. You're gonna make it.
It sucks that I gotta pay for these idiot general managers not knowing how to run a football team.
I offered my services to general managers to be a free general manager for a year. So some of these NFL GMs that need some services, they can call me.
That's like Larry David keeps on saying in interviews he wants to be the offensive coordinator of the Jets.
Or apparently calls their front office all the time with suggestions. I mean, can you imagine fielding that phone call with Joe Douglas? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Okay, let's do winners and losers from last night. We got one each. One winner, one loser. You want to start with a winner, Pro?
Okay. First of all, I think there are a lot of winners, and this is going to be my symbolic winner. The Colts getting Latu, the defensive end out of UCLA. The defensive guys fell. They were so psyched Rich Eisen had a funny line. He said, Chris Ballard came on and said, if 6 quarterbacks go before me, I will come on your show every day if you want. Because it was an incredible run of luck that all these defensive guys fell. Latu is amazing. He's got medical issues, but he's going to be a star. So I've been saying the Colts, but everybody who got a defensive player after that, it's like, oh my God, we just got Christmas in April.
Man, I got it. The biggest winner off the field was Belichick, without a doubt. Him on the Pat McAfee show, he's breaking down these strengths and weaknesses, and actually did tell us some weaknesses of these first-round quarterbacks, which you rarely get on draft night analysis. And he is going to follow in the footsteps of every other coach who takes a year off to go do media. They're going to become way more sought after, and Belichick will be back in coaching. On the field, winners, I think the second 3 quarterbacks who were taken, because they're going into some really good situations, at least on the outside. Now, I'm a little lower on this quarterback draft class than you, Perloff, but if I'm Penix, and if I'm Nix, and if I'm McCarthy, I actually like the situations better for the second 3, if you will, rather than Caleb and Jaden Daniels and Drake Maye. I think the second 3 quarterbacks landed in better spots. The teams are a little bit more filled out, maybe except for the Bears, but that would be my other winners.
Well, except that you kind of worry that you just named 2 franchises that have no idea what they're doing. Denver has made nothing but mistakes for 5 straight years.
That's true.
And Atlanta is even worse.
Yep.
So you just worry. Yes, you can look at the names around them and say, so I kind of worry about those situations. I worry about the Denver GM. But that being said, you're
Sean Payton made this pick, but yeah.
Yeah, you made I just worry about what he's going to put around Bo Nix and just all the decisions they made.
Losers.
Loser to me, I just said, I think the Raiders not getting a quarterback. I think they're shocked. I think they had no idea what hit them. I think getting Brock Bowers at 13, maybe that'll work out great. He could be a Pro Bowler. Even if he is a Pro Bowler, none of it matters. If you don't have a quarterback, you have nothing. This is obviously a draft to get a quarterback, and they just sort of missed the party.
And you're so right about that. Actually, another winner, Gardner Minshew, because it looks like he's going to be starting. Daniel Jones, too, another winner. Losers for me, the Patriots, because that Brandon Ayiuk trade seems like it fell apart. Now, there's still a chance that they could rebound and get Ayiuk again. But I think you need more here for Drake Maye. I get that it's a rebuilding and you can find wide receivers in the draft, but you've got a pretty good salary cap situation. You've got some money here. I was excited for the Patriots when I saw that they were possibly in for Ayiuk, and then it fell apart. So I think that's a loser. Also, Josh Allen, but we'll see. We'll see what the Bills can do for him in day 2. Okay,
you can't really count out the Bills yet. They haven't even made a pick yet.
You want to tell us who we should be on the lookout for today.
Okay. It's not today. He's not going today. But my logic is simple, and it is foolproof. Luke McCaffrey is slotted to go in the 4th or 5th round. So this Christian's little brother, who was a quarterback in Nebraska, transferred to Rice, became a receiver. Bloodlines. Is there any way this kid is not tough as nails? And also, he's going to be in the new kick return position. I say, nobody knows. He's sort of a receiver, sort of a running back. Perfect for this. I feel like if you could get a McCaffrey, his dad was awesome, his brother was awesome. It's like the Watts. This guy has to be good. And
there is a Watt that's not great, though, right? Isn't there?
Oh, Derek Watt? Yeah. He's a very efficient fullback. But, I mean, listen, if you don't know anything, all this is guesswork. If you're going to guess, get that last name, right? Don't you agree with this logic?
Sure. I mean, why not? Wasn't Marvin Harrison, I think, was the 10th father-son duo to be drafted, like a Hall of Fame dad and then a first-round pick son?
Sure,
or
why
Like
not?
that?
When Luke McCaffrey is running in touchdowns next year, I'm going to remind you of your lukewarmers. Also, Ladd McConkey, who a lot of people thought would go to the Niners. I mean, if the Bills walked away with Ladd McConkey, whoa.
There's a lot of talent still left on the board. There was an idea that there was a big talent drop-off or something after the first 15 picks in this draft. That report came out yesterday. I don't see it.
Well, everyone said the wide receivers were particularly deep. I saw a mock draft on ESPN had 9 wide receivers go in the second round, including Malachi Corley, who everyone's high on. This is going to be it's going to be a pretty fun second and third day because a lot of offense still. And then they say by the 6th round, there's nobody left to draft. It's NIL. But
right.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm excited. Days 2 and day 3. It's your big day tonight, Mag. I got to check you out on social media, yelling at the TV.
Be nice and liquored up. Just kidding. Thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Peapolati. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. Callers today, you guys were out of control. You were awesome. Thank you to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers. Phenomenal. Just all week. Such great shows. Thank you so much.